the manifested records that is representation of the action. And that's that public notice, and that's really the only thing that they can see.
Manifestation of the action.
Yeah. Created by a record. The only thing they can really see is a piece of paper or record. And that record has to represent, the deed. So that record is the deed of the act. Because they can't see the act, they can't see the action, they just see the deed or the record. They're always trying to gather information and create a record, and they're going by the records.
Yeah, and I've heard it described as it being sensitive information or a sensitive subject within a case. So that would be the language to use then for coming in under protective order, is that it's sensitive information.
Yeah, the only thing that they can see on the public side is form, process, and procedure, a record. So that motion, say for protective order, that would be an NOI, and then followed by your elements, the SOIs.
Yeah. Now, I've heard you quote one of the Coca-Cola cases, I think it was, with the trade secret that they used.
Right.
The sensitive information. I was wondering, can you cite that case at all?
Probably could. It's never been overturned as far as I can see.
Are there any others?
Secret of Coca-Cola.
Are you aware of any others that could be cited?
Not off the top of my head.
But just the mere fact that there's a... Sorry?
Probably somebody who had a access to a CITES search. You could probably pop that in and find out all other cases, like it.
What's that search called again, sorry?
Like a CITES.
Oh, CITES, okay. Yeah. So just the mere fact that there's publication of the protective order gives your request to go in under protective order some substance, I would have thought. Because that's one of the things that I'm looking at now, is coming in with things that have been published to cite in paperwork to press home, onto the people who we're dealing with.
For the protective order.
For the protective order in one instance, but then utilising the same thing in cases as well, rather than just citing cases, but actually citing publications as well. Specifically regarding to doing the letters of credit, whereby using, say, for example, the equivalent of your HJR 192 there, we found that a publication of the Bank of England where it says that, to create money on the strength of people's deposits, basically.
Right.
Yeah, so there's one publication that we could cite then to sort of like add substance to our claim for issuing credit. And then, various publications that have been in the public, unrebutted for a long time. Taken from law professors, people who've written about money theory and banking theory. You know what I mean? So you sort of like building up a bit of a case, as it were, if you're coming in to maybe not necessarily like the Lord High Treasurer, but maybe a banking CEO, if you want to look at issuing credit into an account which is held in equity, like a contract in equity, special contract.
Right.
And I found a book there that's called Bookkeeping in Banking, it's called. And it's got a section on, I haven't even, this is how busy I've been, because I've been sort of doing all the foundational work, I haven't even got to it yet, but it tells you how interest is generated from special deposits.
What kind of interest?
Well, as I say, I haven't got to it yet. I was reading through the contents on it, but I haven't got to this specific thing because I was trying to get background in bookkeeping, in clearing houses, in all sorts of banking paraphernalia in general. But I will get that information to you when I've picked it out. And I've got some other banking books that I need to go through, and I'm sure I can knit together, a good strong case from publications about the mechanics of how to generate interest from special deposits.
Okay. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I don't know if you're on Skype, I can throw it into the NCT group or something. It's on a Word document. But I got it off archive.org. It's called Bookkeeping Banking. But yeah, it's really been the bee in my bonnet, getting that whole foundation down as regards to what's involved in banking, just what gives them not so much the authority, but what gives the clearance to issue the credit,
Our signatures.
Exactly, yeah, so how can we do it? And in fact, I even got another book, and it's actually in this book. Let me just find it now. It's called Bookkeeping.
The mechanism they're using, or how it is that they're generating it. Really, through the banking system, the banks are doing the conversion.
Yeah. What was funny was that in this book, it tells you what's required to become a national bank, and how it takes 5 people, and you have to go to the comptroller of currency with your request to become a national bank. You need such and such, like $50,000 in reserve. If the population of the town or city is, such and such, and then it's got different brackets of how much in reserve that you need. And it's called Bookkeeping Banking by George W. Miner, M-I-N-E-R. And it was copywritten in 1902.
Sorry, what's that title name again?
Bookkeeping Banking.
Sure.
And it tells you about trust companies. In fact, if you go on archive.org and you just type in banking or clearing houses, or I typed in law of checks, blimey, got about 10 books just specifically on checks alone.
What's that author's name again? Sorry.
George Miner.
You read all
That
those?
sounds interesting.
Yep.
I was going to say that sounds interesting because, the 50,000, I mean, obviously that could come from the birth certificate if you could get into some kind of a private meeting with the bank, right? So now you just really need 5 people with the right knowledge.
Yeah, but that's been tried before. They're a very exclusive group, and they don't want to let you in.
Unless you come in.
It says about 3 different types of banking. You've got national banking, commercial banking, and private banking. But I believe that if you can show competency, I know they don't want to let you in, but if you can show competency, and you're already pretty much established as a private bank, therefore demonstrating competency, then you can start pushing on the national scale. Once there's 5 of you who know what you're doing, and all you're doing nothing more than extending credit. Really.
Yeah, you have to do that on an international scale because procents of that like that over here, they just don't want to get into there. Have better luck on an international venue.
Sure.
Been there, done that. Been there, done that. We tried to do that over here, and it's too cumbersome. It's too long of a period. You're talking at least regulators coming in and everything else. It's too much involved. It's much easier getting into the account.
Is that trying to operate as a private bank?
Yeah, because we were just going to go in and basically be working with banks, only with banks or any type of corporations, not working on the public side. And it's too drawn out, and bank regulators, and it takes well over a year, and they have to check all your assets and everything else, and it's
nightmare.
Yes, it's an absolute nightmare. The process of getting into the account as what we originally thought of with CW, what he was teaching, that's the best way to go from what we've seen, because we did look into it. We were going to go do that and put up, lines of credit and bonds and everything else to finance the bank. It's just too cumbersome. It would take too long to do it.
There might be some application somewhere, though. I mean, at some point, with the trust in the birth certificate and with the bank, I mean, there's got to be some interface along there someplace, but maybe a different, more specific type application. I just think it has a lot of potential because I have a friend of mine who was doing the Winston BC bond process, and I remember he was kind of noted because he went through the most extravagant interpretation of it. And I remember he was saying why he was being so extravagant because he was trying to set himself up for international banking. So, he just had like a 3-stage tutorial process, and he had to go specifically to Ottawa. It was the only notary that would do it. And, he went to I think he went to Massachusetts, and I think he did a UCC1 financing statement at the state level, recorded in the county,
That's all debt creditor stuff, and my thought is to stay out of it. Because all that
that was his context.
Very, very cumbersome, and you got to be one of the group. You got to pay some people off, and they want FRNs.
Well, that's what they tell you, but I would imagine it's probably something similar like the court, where they fool you into stepping into jurisdiction, because, like, if they start looking into your assets, then you've already made a misstep somewhere, because they should just be looking at your birth certificate, for example, right? So there's probably, 100 missteps we're all making. You pretty much got to be your own broker and banker, I'd imagine, but, I mean, at least this guy's showing it's got some kind of potential there.
Oh, it does, but it's just too long and drawn out. I mean, you got to jump through their hoops.
That's what we're doing here.
What caught my interest is the fact
they make it an exclusive group.
That's the impression.
Observe?
ahead, CW.
Did you do anything with the Federal Reserve along those lines?
We even tried to get into that, and we just hit a block wall, and it's just. Then we started doing the research on the trust and started listening to you, and we just kind of let it go by the wayside because it was just too many regulators, and we were even trying to do it on the state because the state is a little bit less intrusive than doing it on a national level. Mm-hmm. And you've got to have a place of business, you got to have a building and everything. I mean, they basically routing numbers, all that stuff. And which you would get from once you get okayed by what's that gentleman's name that's in charge of it? CW, you mentioned it before. He's in charge of the banking. I forgot his name, but anyway, you got to get. Yeah, no, you have to. You have to get an okay by him, by a letter, and then you have to go to the Federal Reserve, and then they give you the routing numbers, and then specifically how many routing numbers you want. But all during this time, they're looking to see your birth certificates, because that's what we were going to put up as collateral, and then use the number on the birth certificate down on the right-hand corner, which is the security that's traded on the international level. And we were just going to run that, and that's the finances and everything else, and go from there. But it was just jumping through the hoops of the regulators. I really didn't want to do that because, like CW said, it's a private group. You have to go to their colleges and everything else and be a part of their little groups, and it just, I mean, it can be done. Don't get me wrong. It can be done. But you're looking at a long process.
That sounds like a lot of statutory stuff, though, eh? I know there's another guy, he's got a private trust set up. They're giving him definitely a hard time and threatening him with fraud and all this stuff, but none of it's come through in the last, I don't know how many years he's been doing it, right? But he set up a private trust, and he didn't get the numbers for like you said, the Federal Reserve banks, because that's basically the group, and he purposely didn't do that because he was trying to be a private trust. And he does have an EIN number, but, there again, where's this fine line between private and statutory? I don't think I don't have enough understanding, but I imagine it's that subtle understanding again.
Well, it's back to what Christian's been talking about a while ago, which is the back office banking.
I've seen it. I've seen people get into it, get an interview with the guy who comes around to the bank, closes the doors, and talk to him after hours. But he said something happened and they blew it, right? Because obviously they didn't know what they were doing. But they got that far. They knocked on the wizard's door, so to speak, right? And lo and behold, there's a guy who comes around and talks to you after banking hours.
They didn't bring the witch's broom.
Yeah.
No, the water.
The bucket of water, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great. There's a guy melted on our floor.
But yeah, I just think that even in language alone, when someone is credited with something, I feel that is kind of speaking in trust language, ingrained into the language that we speak in everyday life, and we don't even realise it.
It's hidden by the equivocation of the words. If you make a layer, 3 jumps into the layer, then you connect the dots for gaining the understanding.
Yeah, it does seem like you got to walk and talk in terms of this, almost like double entendres on everything. Everything has a double meaning. Like you've got to speak in terms of this alignment of, because you're always making reference to when you're going to do something at the court. What's the phrasing you use? What's the colorful interpretation? So you literally have to be speaking on these 2 planes at the same time, it seems, from what you're saying.
Yes, right.
Yeah, and what gets me is the combination of meanings that any one word can have, and then when you string them in a sentence, then you've got, like, how many layers of combinations of meanings that could be there?
Well, I look at it like I'm helping a friend write a letter because he went and signed something he shouldn't have. And so I'm using terms and phrases. It's a very simple document. I'm just telling him, like, he doesn't understand jurisdiction enough. And, every second sentence, he's basically putting himself back into jurisdiction. So I'm trying to show him write a letter. But it's all making, like, I'm saying, use phrases like, it wasn't my intention on the signature, and so on. And, I got just a couple paragraphs. It's very straightforward. And then, but, so we're operating on the contract level, but I'm using trust language. And, yeah, see, it's a nice little application. This is where I'm starting. I'm humble enough to admit that, and but I think it's going to be very effective if he just focuses on that, because, and I can see the contrast between him and me, because he can't say a sentence without going into jurisdiction, and I keep hammering him on that, and he's just getting frustrated because he can't see it the way I see it. He asked me the same question 50 times, right? But I'm just writing this letter. To me, it's simple now. And, of course, I know the jurisdiction thing, so now I'm trying to apply the trust to the concept of jurisdiction, and which is basically, I'm just saying, focus on you sign something under duress, so now you go back and you make a notice saying, in essence, that was not your original intent, period. Do not say anything else. Do not bring anything else. Just that's it. As simple as that. And he's having a real hard time because, of course, he doesn't see that other level, so, I'm trying to slowly
He wants to defend himself.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that's it. We're all conditioned exactly. As soon as
we're taught from a very little child to fight. Defend yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's a reaction, and they try to provoke that reaction at every option. The whole thing is designed to intimidate and scare you, and that's exactly what people do: is they react and they don't think. And you can't blame them, I guess, for lack of knowledge. You're right for that. Sorry?
And we're trained to react and not respond prior to thinking.
Yeah, and there's a big void there. Unless, people are showing up to meetings. Like, I don't know how many discussions we've had, but how many people talk about trust. I think people are wading into it, but you're coming right from trust from the get-go. Trust is your whole theme. So, I still think you're the only one who's really doing that. Although I see a lot of other people now, like Winston, and even Winston. Okay, so he's getting into trust now, but how long has he been around for? Well, 10 years, and he's been referencing it, no question. But now he's.
Yeah, they've been on the show.
Oh, really?
They've been on the show in the background listening.
Cool. Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah. Oh, Sam's guys do that too. Yeah, they all have their inner circles. You guys, too bad. You guys should have maybe do some kind of negotiations and diplomacy and get some of these guys on the show and talking to them. It'd be some very interesting conversations. I think back to the time when they had that thing at Albany with PTK, and there was Jack and Winston and Tom Schultz and Montana Freeman and Sam and, of course, PTK. That's a scary thought, but, the very fact that they thought, when they thought this was it, quote unquote, that they did come together, and I think it's possible.
What occurred with that guy, PTK, whatever his name is?
I apologize for bringing that up, but the focus was that they actually PTK's rolled right over to something. He must be listening in on your calls too, I'm gathering, because that guy, he's kind of a constantly involving. He's just got these. I hate to say it, but it's very cultist. I don't even want to get into it anymore now.
But revolution. That's we're kind of riding the wave, and we're on the crest of it. It's really.
Yeah, it's building. The more knowledge that we gain and the more study that we do, we can't help but gather more knowledge.
I just wonder what
power to us.
That the potential. The leaders are paying attention and starting to see things, and I'm glad to see them start picking up some things and incorporating into what they are using.
I would love to see some calls, though, Christian, with imagining you talking to some of these big names And you obviously, maybe inviting them onto the show. And of course, these guys, because they're big names and studied for years, I just think there'd be some pretty amazing conversations, some kind of an interview style, basically, and then maybe some questions at the end kind of thing. It doesn't have to be every week, of course, but you never know, right? Special guest Sam or Winston, these guys surely could have a good conversation with you. It'd be mind-blowing, I think.
The names I'd put forward for that would be Gene Keaton and Bill Barton. They'd be my two favourite people who have, and Greg Gentry as well.
I've heard of Greg Gentry. I know Gene Keating. Gene Keating would be fascinating if you can get I mean, that guy's just he's beyond definition, right? He's an iconoclast in his own right, absolutely. And that's where PTK got his biggest boost. Everybody was giving him credit, and I mean, I put out an email back in May, and I said, hey, this is all coming from Gene Keating. Nobody in the group recognized that at the time. And then a few days later.
Gene Keating is brilliant. I mean, I've been reading his stuff for years, and CW was his student, right, CW?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, in all fairness, like Christian's really, he's extended Gene Keating's work, and that's what he's expecting of some of us guys, is to supersede Christian as well, so that we can all,
Go for it.
Yeah, contribute more and more to each other's endeavours, like.
Gene Keating was the guy who originated the GSA forums, right? Like the focus and attention on those.
Right, 1999.
Yeah. That early, okay. So they didn't really come into the forefront and then PTK was just, I guess his only role was he's.
No, I don't think Christian means in the year 1991. I think he means the forums 1991.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, sorry. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, 90. That's right. Forum 28, 90, and 91, exactly. And PTK just showed up on the scene, and it was like his thing. And it was like, okay, let me get this straight. We know Keating spent years and years, and he said right in one of his videos that came out like around January 2009, you'll never see this anywhere. And then all of a sudden PTK is like, oh yeah, this is my information. No reference at all.
The DPC thing was Gene's from the beginning.
Yeah, but he didn't say nothing till I put out a complaint letter in May. Not a complaint, but I just said, hey, you know what? Why is he making on like this is Gene Keating stuff? And I was kind of like, being self-righteous, defending Gene Keating because he's not there. And just a few days after that, emails started circulating saying, oh, well, didn't you know Gene Keating is PTK's mentor? And I thought, oh, really? Okay. So for 5 months, PTK's been going on like this is his thing, and he's out east, and he's just wandering preacher and all this crap. And then all of a sudden, oh, no, now Gene Keating's my mentor. And Gene Keating never made any reference to PTK in this video, and PTK never made reference until that email, right? So I was playing with that a bit, right?
CW. With Gene Keating, I mean, even back on his old writings, I was catching trusts, but he was talking about treaties, but treaties are trusts. And he was talking about it way back when nobody was talking about it. And is he still around, or what?
Yeah, I believe he's still around. He surfaces down in. Last I heard, he was in California.
And bonds basically is just another way of talking about trust, right?
Yeah, I was just talking about bonds, insurance, and trust.
Yeah, he brought the prison treaties, famous document that's circulated. You can find that anytime Gene Keating workshop.
Well, I've been talking trust. All those guys have been talking trust because they always mention the SETI key trust, which is the birth certificate, or the Social Security account. Those are trusts. But then there's where the difference lies between them and me. I'm pursuing trust rabbit hole. They went back down the debtor creditor rabbit hole. But it just didn't make sense to me. Why is everything all trust, but yet we're doing debtor creditor stuff? So why don't we just do trust all, and then that led into further research and study, and then I see, hey, this is where it's at, folks. Eat, sleep, and drink trust, 24/7. come into, or I should say, when we come into real money, then how is that going to affect what we're learning here today? So the trust will no longer be, I'd say, the underpinning or the foundation. It'll be just another tool in the toolbox that everybody can use. So all the other tools won't be resting on trust. Because when we bring back real money, if we ever do, the trust is all going to have to, the purpose for the trust will have ceased. Okay. Now we'll act like under trust where we were previously before, say, 33.
Well, why isn't a promise, when it's an intention of goodwill, why isn't a promise considered by most to be real money? I see it as real money.
In a sense, it is, I guess.
Exactly.
You're trusting in that promise to be the real money,
yeah.
So if we all decide that's what we're going to use as a medium of exchange, then trust is going to be the medium of exchange, the promise to pay.
I just think if the whole thing is based on trust and the fundamental, as our Irish friend, I'm sorry, what's your name? Pete. Sorry, Pete. As you stated earlier, that the original concept of the trust was for our benefit. And essentially, a part of why we're here, of course, is to get back to that fundamental understanding. And if, in theory, we got that fundamental understanding, then, again, would it be necessary to necessarily terminate the trust? Because by then we'd know how to operate it. And, why not use that whole big machine created by the whether it's the government or IMF or whoever, and then, essentially, because it's really, I remember Winston was always saying, it's about we're trying to create joint access. Now, I think there is kind of an interesting...
terminating the trust, per se. I'm advocating terminate the trust, but then form another trust to take its place. So we're not eliminating the trust. We're taking and utilizing the trust on both sides.
Okay. I'm just coming from, like, Vic Beck has this idea that all the, not that I'm trying to support the government, I'm not very pro-government, but society in general, apparently the way it's set up now, these people can't operate without our the bonds and the birth certificates, essentially. And, of course, if everybody did, in fact, let's just say in a world where everybody actually, as impossible as that sounds statistically, if everybody figured out how to use their birth certificate and did that, we'd leave the entire governmental system completely high and dry. And so...
We'll need them to do the conversion. If the people would ever find out or come to the realization that they are the ones creating and doing everything, but the government is using it.
Exactly.
Well, we have our government back in our hands.
Yeah, but you have to remember is that there's so many lawless people out there. In all reality, the government is there to protect us.
Yeah, but I think they're lawless coming at them under debtor-creditor. If we would be coming at these lawless people under trust, when they do a bad faith breach, it would not be a bad faith under debtor-creditor. It would be bad faith under trust.
Breach of
and
trust.
Now we've got the equity in our power, in our favor, and the burden of proof switches to the trustee. And why didn't he do his duty? And now the only thing that the court of equity wants to know is when are they going to do the duty?
Well, what I was talking about lawlessness is meaning that they have no understanding. So they're like children that have to be led around. But I understand what you were saying about the trust in lawlessness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've got all the power. I mean, they've got the people completely blind, and the only people that probably know about this is the lawyers, and they probably thought, oh, this is too important for the public to know about.
Got all the power, but it's only due to our own ignorance. So we still have all the power, except they're just deceiving us that we don't have it. And then you're believing that you don't have the power, which is the trust. Because if That way you don't have any credit. Because if belief is credit or belief is trust, if trust is credit, credit is trust, credit is belief, they're all synonymous terms.
Yeah.
Now when we start believing who we are because we know and understand it, now we have all the credit. We have that trust.
The Constitution says faith and credit. That's exactly how it reads in the Constitution.
Yeah, and when you go to blacks, it defines credit as trust.
So essentially you're saying full faith and credit is almost a redundant expression, like it's just a re-emphasis of the same principle.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Faith, it's just like religion.
Well, this is
based on religion.
Yeah, of course. But this is why this is so fascinating, because this to me is getting right to the point where there's law and there's a man's credit or full faith and credit, and application of this to me is very, not to say metaphysical, it's got a certain absolute unmistakable philosophical aspect to this. And if I get into arguments with people and I end up being right a lot, not because I got more legal knowledge than they have, but they just don't seem to, they're always operating on that superficial technical rule by rule. They got way more, that's people love to study statute law, and I know you need that to come into it, but that's only so that you can get back to your basic fundamental expression of I think these more fundamental principles.
Yeah, what type of estate are you holding your property in? What type of tenure? What type of estate are we holding our property in? Real or personal? What it really boils down to. An estate being either a private equitable trust or a debtor-creditor or statutory trust.
If we go into the debtor-creditor statutory, we're essentially stepping into the federal government and the jurisdiction and all that. This kind of fits with Jack Smith's interpretation of jurisdiction A and jurisdiction B.
That's when you're going into the public.
Yeah, public-private, A, B, and of course now you need to have that whole understanding of the diplomacy that's required when a sovereign speaks to another sovereign. That's a big part of it too, right?
Able to access that public side, but through that straw man or a straw man entity. I think I would much rather be that it was created under mine instead of theirs.
Yeah, I can see that now to a certain extent.
And when you say theirs, you're talking about the Social Security number, Krista?
I think he might get dropped off. It could also implicate like a postal zone too, if you're following other leads about descriptions and territory and easements.
Well, I think they work hand in hand, because the thing is, we're saying trust because that's on the private side, but we're living on the public side. And I think getting into the land and everything else, I think it works hand in hand with the trust. Do you agree, Chris?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think we need to merge those two together, possibly, where, the land patents and everything else come into play.
I think trust ties it all together.
Certainly does. Hey, Christian, I have been going back into the original general laws of the state of California that were set forth at the same date of the Constitution of 1849, and I'm actually finding a lot of the language of the endorsements and the language is actually written as far back as 1850 in regards to land and private property and the ability to be able to use different forms of instruments. And they're speaking of it. I haven't found a way of getting this off of Google. It's one of those things where page by page, but I wanted to see if I can't get a copy of this and send it to you. It's pretty interesting read. Some of the considerations that they're popping off of the lawful reasons why a person with private property can do these endorsement and tendered offers like what we've been talking about with trust. And I wanted to make sure you got that because I thought it was important. From 1850, they were talking about this stuff back then.
Yeah, what was
right
the title of it?
Huh?
What's the title of it?
This is the General Laws of the State of California from 1850 to 1863.
Oh, okay.
And I went to the section of where they're talking about private property and negotiable instruments, non-negotiable instruments, and the abilities of tendered offer. And there's a whole set of statutes in here that pertains to that. Of course, it's way back there, and it's really hard to get back there. But I thought it was a real interesting read. The fact is, if you can get to that site, it's in the 260 statutes. 260. It's not page 260. It's the set of statutes in and around private property and non-negotiable instruments. And this was dated in 1850.
Christian?
Kathy, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just browsing through that book there about special deposits. And what it says is sources of a bank's expenses. The principal sources of a bank's expenses may be specified as follows. Number 1, interest on special deposits.
Yeah. Then you go to a bank and say you want to make a special deposit. They say, what's that? And then you go to a trust department and you say, I want to make a special deposit. They say, we never heard of that before. And I've been at this bank 20 years now, so.
But isn't a special deposit private?
Yes. But they've never heard of the bank for 20 years.
But like I said, this thing, I really believe it happened. I mean, I wasn't there, but my friend, he's totally one of the most serious guys. And he said that they had a private appointment. This guy comes around, you said it, and they say, yeah, we'll have somebody come around. And when he said when they came around, and boy, the way they went on, too, the way they talked about it, they didn't want to talk about it. Like, I don't know how people get all caught up in mystic and paranoid or whatever, but he's just like, well, he didn't want to get too much into it, but, it was a
It's
private...
all about jurisdiction.
Yeah, I think it goes back. I think it's the same deal, because I know when I play with parking tickets and I do anything, jurisdiction is everywhere. When the cop pulls up to your window, that's jurisdiction going on there. When you go and visit and talk to the adjudicator about a parking ticket, he's playing a jurisdiction game within 3 seconds, trying to tell you to sit down and do this and that, asking you questions. And I know I can pick it up now right away. I wasn't sure at first. I let them kind of push me around, because I know that guy was crapping his pants when he saw how I filled out my form. And it showed that I knew what jurisdiction was. And then when I sat down, within seconds, I knew I lost something. You see what I mean? So that I believe, and I think this is the same thing. When you got to set this private thing up, and as soon as they see that you don't have it, that's it. They just want to basically have that private thing. They'll know, like, in 5-10 minutes whether you got it or not, with the understanding. And that's it.
It's all linked. This banking stuff, the court's the bank. The jurisdiction is the jurisdiction of the court. The court is the bank. It's the jurisdiction of the bank. It's how much credit have you got in public or in private between yourself and whoever, or in yourself. It's kind of all rolled into one, and it's just being splayed out into society. And you just have to understand from a historical point of view that when England was originally a land in itself, and the Romans came, they brought the fideicomissum, which was their version of trusts in Roman civil law. Now, prior to that, there was already trust formations in operation between English or sort of like Celtic people. And when the Romans left and everything, along came the Normans in 1066, again with this Roman civil law, which was foreign to the Teutonic law of the English people. Now, Teutonic law relates to Germanic law and certain sections of German principalities, if you like smaller countries. they did have similar systems to confidences and trusts and uses, but not all of them. It was only be certain sections of these principalities, and that was where England was drawing its law forms from. So now you've got the Normans coming into England, and they're bringing in this Roman civil law which doesn't recognise trust. Now, it was only up until 1925, I think, in England that you've had the Trustees Act. So all that time you've had like the Querantoras of 12 something, then you've got the Statute of Uses, which was Henry VIII, which fell apart, and then the Trustees Act, and then the Recognition of Trusts Act. So you're dealing with two separate law forms, and the law form and the jurisdiction that we're coming in at is the true equity side. And, you know, we need to learn what that was and what it is and how to operate in it. And then you've got this Roman civil law side, which is all about encroaching on and being forceful to the citizens, making them, you know...
Well, Pete, you know, I could come back what those two equitable law forms were. You know, right in the Lewin book, right on page 2, it talks about the definition of simple trust. It's right there. Because it says that simple trust under equity at that time was a confidence or a relationship. But now on the public side now, we have a trust being elements and a method of formation and records. That's the difference.
Well, the record, CW, I have a question, okay? We pull the land, you know, we merge the titles and we pull it off of the public side. Now we have it sitting out there in the middle of nowhere, okay, but it's not in the public arena. Now, we want to bring the republic back. Wouldn't it be wise to bring the rural route in where you become your own post office, and that way bringing the old republic back? And I think we have to merge those two together to make it so there's no longer where it can be captured back into their jurisdiction without our permission.
Well, it's like we're operating with two simultaneous realms, you know, simultaneously. They're there, they exist simultaneously, and it's just what type of estate are you holding your property in?
I think that thing Pete's saying is kind of interesting because, you know, it reminds me of what Microsoft does with, you know, I always say they're like the Rome of the computer industry because they always go, you know, we like to embrace other people's technology and extend, which is their fancy way of saying before they got hit with the antitrust law, lo and behold, that, you know, they would basically try to take over their competition and make it their own so that it suited their purpose, which is very, you know, that's basically what Rome has brought to the world, right? They basically take something and they start to suck its energy out and use it against itself so for its own purpose. Their job is basically just to rule over it. And you know, yeah, well, yeah, I guess, by force, by rule of force, by rule of power, by rule of law, whatever. They're the superior, quote-unquote, race. That's what they do. And I think, you know, it's no coincidence because, you know, Microsoft, Bill Gates, if you study his history, his dad, I think he's a third generation, you know, American family lawyer, right? Bill Gates Jr., I think. And so that's no surprise because his whole upbringing, you could see he had the guidance of legal counsel, you know. Where he was a business person, whereas Steve Jobs was a real computer geek. And Bill Gates, you know, Microsoft, anybody, if you know in engineering from software and hardware, that platform was the most mediocre software and hardware at the time, okay? That's what our whole computer industry is based on now. The most mediocre, but they knew marketing, they knew the law, they knew how to play the game, they knew how to control it and build it into what it is today, an empire.
What's the name of his product? The Xerox.
Sorry? Yeah.
His product, the Xerox.
Well, Well, no, that's you're talking about the graphic user interface. But the other story goes that depending on which one, it was like he bought it for either like $30,000 or $70,000 from another guy. The actual DOS code, and at the time it was called QDOS, and that stood for quick and dirty operating system. And that's what he basically leased to IBM because IBM couldn't make anything on their own at the time. Probably still can't.
Let CW talk, please.
Sorry, I was talking to CW. Who's that?
This is Mike. Yeah, every time CW wants to talk, you interrupt him. So we just need to be able to have.
I thought we were having a conversation. Sorry.
Well, we are, but every time CW tries to speak, you talk over him. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I was just.
How you doing, Christian?
Yeah.
How you doing, Christian?
Good. Who's this?
This is Gamba from Hill. Been trying to get in touch with you for a while there, from private bankers. Okay, I'm not placing what was it again? Gamba from Hill. I've spoken to Eric a couple of times and been trying to get in contact with you to come to some type of resolutions as it relates to these trusts. There's some simple methods that we've been using and having a lot of success with. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of a standby trust fund.
Go ahead.
Well, what we've been doing here in Michigan, I'm located in Michigan, right outside of Detroit, Ferndale, Michigan. We've been naming the alleged creditors as the beneficiaries to a standby trust fund. That trust fund is being funded with a surety bond. Now, what we're doing is we're coming from an angle of a business. We have a compliance department that's set up with this standby trust fund. We have an arbitration department that's set up with this trust fund, and the whole 9 yards. And what we're doing is we're naming these alleged creditors, these banks, these courts, and whoever else as the beneficiaries to the standby trust fund. And what we're doing is we're sending them a compliance letter basically telling them, listen, you comply with these terms and conditions, we have no problem with paying you. Failure to do so will waive your right as a beneficiary to the trust, and you're entitled to nothing. And it's when we've had it's a trustee then? Excuse me?
You're acting as trustee then?
Oh, of course. But we also have clauses that are in our standby trust funds that enables us to transfer that responsibility over to whoever we choose to do so, which could be the judge, the attorney, or whoever else.
Okay, so you're operating as grantor trustee also.
Right, but we're doing it from a different standpoint as Moors because when I don't know if you're familiar with Moors, but when we with the concept of a Moor, what it is our straw man and our flesh and blood men are totally separate. So when we act as grantor, we're acting as grantor. The straw man is the straw man. He is what he is. He's on paper. He has nothing to do with me. My name is going to totally. You understand? My name is going to be totally different from that's on that paper. It's all a fiction. This is all a game, and we learn. And I'm sure you know this. Understanding the game and knowing how to play Monopoly is what enables you to win. But when you name them as beneficiaries and you make them produce evidence, it's very tough for them. And you're willing to pay them right away. But they have to comply with certain things. It's just like with any other business. You don't comply, you don't get paid. You comply, we pay you. We do a K-1 schedule. Send it to the IRS. We do the form, the 1099 miscellaneous, which is the receipt showing that we've made the payment, and it's done. It's over. It's simple. It's very simplified, and it's called a standby trust, and you can utilize these things to 100% protection.
You broke up there. What
I'm saying is, I have an echo going on, I guess.
There's an echo going on. If everybody's not speaking, would you press star 6 to mute on?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead, try again.
Okay, not a problem. Like I said, one of the concepts that we came up with, and when I did decide to develop this concept, a lot of people
keep the trust safe all the time. So why not leave it the way it is, but make them produce evidence to show why they should have certain funds from that trust allocated to them?
Okay.
Why should you be distributing certain funds out of this trust? You can't make me breach the terms and conditions of the trust. I am the trustee, and I have no problem with paying you. But in order for us to do so, we have to have you comply with certain terms and conditions of this trust agreement. In other words, we need you to send us the original promissory note, or it could be done through our arbitration department. We need you to provide us this. We need you to provide us that. Failure to do so, you have no claim to the trust. It's just like if you set up a trust for your daughter, and within the terms and conditions of that trust, you said that she had to have a high school graduation before she could be entitled to these funds, and you placed the trust in the hands of, let's say, an attorney. And this attorney holds this trust for her until, when she reached the ages of 18, and at that time, if she has her high school diploma, then that attorney will release whatever it is that you can put into that trust fund. Let's say it's $100,000. She gets a high school education, she gets $100,000. The trustee releases it. Okay, now, let's say she turns 18 and she does not have that high school diploma. Is that trustee entitled to release those funds? Nope. Absolutely not. So it's the same way with a standby trust fund. You don't comply with the terms and conditions of the trust, you don't get paid. And this is how we go in court and wipe them out all the time, and they lose their position easily.
Okay, how is your indenture written? It is specifically worded, or do you have a loose indenture?
Oh yeah, specifically worded, and we specifically draft them for each individual that we deal with, because it can't be a standardized trust indenture, because everybody's situation is different. So we have an attorney that we do work with who helps us out with this. Like I said, our website is privatebankersforum.com. You can go there, and I'm sure you have, and get a good overview of what we do. But the bottom line is the standby trust fund kills.
I'm sorry, what did you say your site was?
Privatebankersforum.com.
Thank you.
Forum, F-O-R-U-M.
So how long have you been operating this way under trust?
We've been in business for a while. We just came with the concept maybe within the last 6 months to a year, and again, I was criticized by a lot of my partners and a lot of other people because they just didn't understand it, but it made perfect sense to me, and I adopted the concept by looking at how certain municipalities operate, and it made perfect sense to me. I said, why would we not name them as beneficiaries and make them produce the evidence through our compliance department? You have to set the trust up as a company, and it has to have an arbitration department, it has to have a compliance department. I mean, it has to have all the elements of an actual company. And then you reverse the roles, and then you take over the position. Now they're on the defense. It's not an offense. You're not fighting anymore. They're on the defense. We're not arguing with you. What we're saying is we will pay you gladly within 30 days, but here's what we need from you.
So what you're saying is you learn how to administer the trust.
Right. You have to learn how to administer to the trust. You have to know your position, and you definitely have to know how to operate as trustee, because as you say, and I agree totally with you, failure to understand how to operate as a trustee, this procedure will not work.
Right.
So you have to know you got to know who you are and understand what a trustee is. So we don't go in with the ideology is they're the trustees and that they're in control. No. Absolutely not. You've been served notice. Here's the trust indenture. Here's what we want from you, and if you can give us these things, we'll pay you. It's no problem. They fail every time. So now we have a prima facie evidence case against them, and we go in and we wipe them out.
You're operating as a statutory trust on the public side?
I couldn't hear you.
You're operating as a statutory trust on the public side?
It could be done either way. It really doesn't matter. It has nothing to do. I mean, you just have to find the states that are favorable to your trust. And there are certain states that are very favorable, even operate from a statutory side. You have Nevada, you have Delaware, and you have Wisconsin. These are states that even their statutes are favorable. operate completely private, you can operate private. If you want to go and register yourself as a trust with business license, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is this. We've set the funds up. They're sitting there. These funds are sitting in a trust fund waiting for you to collect. Now, here's what our compliance department needs from you. What are they going to do when they come in court? Say what? They failed to pay? No, we had the funds are waiting for you. You failed to comply. That's it. It's a no-brainer. It's no argument. What are these people talking about, Your Honor? We'll pay them today. This is what we need from them.
Perfect angle. Right.
It's pretty dynamic.
Well, hey, sir, what is your name?
Gamba Mwenye L.
How do you spell it?
GAMBAMWENYEEL.
Wait a second. GAMBAN.
No, GAMBA. That's my first name. Last name MWENYE space EL.
And are you at that phone number that's on your website?
Yes.
Okay.
Is this his Islamic banking system?
Excuse me?
Is this a Islamic banking system?
No, he's ignores it.
First ourselves as being an Islamic banking system. What we do is we deal. You may see on the website where it says that we cater more to more as opposed to anything, but we basically deal with anyone who is private. These services that we offer are not available to the public. You will not come to our website and try to be under the as a U.S. citizen. We don't. Our services are not available to the public. Period. So it doesn't matter if you're a Moor or you're a European. It does not matter. What we basically look for is those to be privatized citizens, not public U.S. citizens.
And how do you define private?
Well, I'm not a U.S. citizen. Period. I'm a man. I'm private.
How many of those could you find in America?
How many can we define? I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, how many of those can you find in America?
Oh, there's thousands and there's millions of people whose business dealings are kept out of the public. I mean, we have tons of clients, and there's people who recognize that there's something wrong and don't want to be a part of the public. It's just like
but you always are training them to be private, right?
Right. Okay. Well, let me give you a perfect example of something that I totally disagree with, and then I'm going to let you guys carry on your conversation because I don't want to infiltrate your call because this is your call, Chris. But I just want to say one thing. It's just like with this Tim Turner movement that they have going on. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. Restoring America. Right. I don't want to criticize anyone, and I'm not. But what I'm saying is this: is that I believe that they're totally wrong, and probably a lot of them will be indicted. For one simple reason: you cannot go into McDonald's and tell the president of McDonald's that we're going to remove you if your hamburgers are not correct. Well, what you need to do is don't go into McDonald's if you don't like McDonald's. So what I'm saying in essence is to say this, is that the democracy is going to be here. But we also can form a Republican form of government, which should also be here. I don't think that they can exist without each other.
That's right. That's right. There's a duality that must exist.
They have to coexist. And I mean, all of this restore America and that is the corporation known as the United States. It's not going to change. It's not going to ever change. Let it exist. All we have to do is seek the republic.
It's there. It's just we're not operating it.
Exactly.
They're trying to do that. That's what their du jour members are trying to do. But yeah, there's a tricky thing. They're trying to. You're not sure which side they're on.
Yeah, I mean, this is idiotic, I believe, what these guys are trying to do. I mean, you're trying to destroy the democracy? They're not going to let that happen. They've been operating and doing this for so many years. There's no way that they'll even let these people attempt to do it. That's true. So I think it's a lot of energy being wasted with that. But with that being said, I want to listen in to you guys, and I don't want to interrupt the conversation again. Christian, it's good to meet you. I've been trying to talk to you for a while because I do like a lot of your ideas, a lot.
Okay. Well, you're on I'm glad to see that somebody is using it to a practical application, what we've been talking about all along.
We have many ways to utilize the trust, and I just think it just boils down to you understanding who you are and coming up with some good concepts, because there's many ways you can use it.
Could we have that website one more time?
It's private, www.privatebankers, with an S, forum, FORUM.com.
Okay. Thank you.
Gamba, do you have a group that you teach and share your method?
Well, we have hundreds of people here in Michigan, and we work out of Florida. It's a large group. We got people in Baltimore, some in St. Louis. We're trying to spread around. But we're trying to do business, and we're not trying to cause any conflict. And that's to me where the biggest problem lies. And I've had business from the Inspector General of the Treasury, the Attorney General's office. Recently, I had a visit from some other guys I'd rather not mention. And excuse me, I have two dogs. Please be quiet. Okay, and I've had visits from these people, and basically, how we know that we're doing things the right way is because they told us we were. And basically, the reason they came here is to see, because he asked us questions to the fact of, are you guys doing seminars, or are you doing this, or are you putting this out here to the public, because that's what they don't want. Yeah. You can't save everybody. Slaves, there's going to be slaves.
Yeah.
There's slaves.
But you can't just everybody can tell from their own personal experience, should be able to deduce that you can't educate the masses.
Oh, and so you can't try to take these people slaves. Now, if the people find themselves in tune with people like Christian, myself, and others that are, I would say, knowledgeable, then I look at it as it was meant for you to have this information. But you can't go out here and try to induce these people into this, because some of them they're just not ready for it, and there is going to be no change for them.
Yeah.
If they're fortunate enough to run into someone as myself or Christian or others, then they're blessed, and it's meant for them to have this information. But it's not our job to go out here and try to induce the public into our beliefs. That's when they have a problem with you. So Gamba. Yes.
What do you do for people when they come to you and they're under the gun with a notice of sale? What do you do to stop it?
Well, what we've done, we have a guy that works with that. I personally don't deal with that. I try not to deal with the mortgages a lot, but I do deal with them. I'm very familiar with it. One of the things is what we do is we transfer the properties out of the names of the parties, the grantor, which is the owner of the property. We transfer it into a trust. What we also do is we take control of it with a lien. This may be what Christian refers to as debtor creditor, but it works very well. We don't use typical liens, but we use what's called purchase money security interest. It's a purchase money security interest. This is, to me, the most powerful lien you can use.
And then you transfer to what kind of a trust?
Whichever one you decide to. It doesn't matter. The property's out of their name.
Okay. So
you have to take the property out of their name. It doesn't matter if they're in the last second. It doesn't matter. Transfer the property out of the name. Whatever you grant to that trust, whether it's, and see, here's the kicker when people don't understand. It does not, when you're transferring property to a trust, you're not saying that you're transferring the property itself to the trust. What you're transferring is your interest in the property to the trust, whether that's 0 or 100%. What you have to figure out is, what have I put into this property? How much? What have I actually put into this property, and what can I actually transfer to this trust? That's what you're transferring. trustee cannot be someone who's not competent. If you're not competent, of course, you're not going to be the trustee. It's going to be someone who's competent to handle the affairs of the trust and administer the trust.
So does your private bankers forum have trustees that operate as trustees then if the people are incompetent?
Of course we do. Look at the website.
No, because I know about 6 outfits right now that are doing what you're doing.
Here we go.
And they're very successful at it. They just transfer the person's name into another trust.
Right, but see, you have certain people that are out here that also taking these people. See, what we try to do with this right here, and we tell people that we don't want to control your trust. What we want to do is get you to the point to where you can understand how to operate your own trust and operate as a trustee. We don't want to be the trustees over your trust. To me, that's giving someone too much power.
So do you have to have a real estate license for that?
Oh, of course not. For what? To operate a trust business? No. It's private.
No, for the same party to operate a number of trusts. Like in California, if you have over 4 trusts, you're supposed to have real estate.
Who told you that?
No one told me. I talked to the.
Okay, so it doesn't apply because that's coming from the democracy side of doing things. That's what the corporation
You can have
says.
any private trust if you want.
Yeah, okay.
How's anybody going to know what you got?
Private trust.
Gamba, when you say it's a transfer of interest, is that the same thing as a transfer of a portion of the title, and the title holder or the lawyers that are set up as the title holder, are they becoming part of the trusteeship as well?
No, it's your trust. You're transferring your interest over into a trust. Let's just say just say the name of the trust is which we like to use financial terms when we establish trust, and it's just the way that we do things. We use the terms First Federal Settlement Trust, Worldwide Financial Trust. We use financial names. Okay, now let's say you set up that trust, right? You take the property, you transfer it through a deed of trust. You put that on record. You have your trust indenture set up or your declaration of trust set up. You have Worldwide Financial Trust file a PMSI lien against the property.
What?
Now, a PMSI lien. It's called a purchase money security interest. You have that trust file a lien against the property. Now, if you're in a deed of trust state, it's very easy to stop that sale. All you have to do is serve notice on them. Serve notice on them. It's under, I believe, subsection 2943. California statute. Serve notice on the trustees of that that's going to have that sale. There's no way they can have it. And if they do decide to have it, make sure you're at the sale, but not at the sale as the straw man, at the sale as the trustee that's operating that business, going in there and saying, hey, listen, you do understand that we have an interest in this property. We are the owners of the property, and we have a lien against the property. And if you continue to have this sale, we will take legal recourse, legal actions against you. Here's the document. Now, if you're going to have this sale, no problem. But what you need to do is notify these people right now that this property is encumbered and that there's another ownership. Failure to do any of those things is larceny by trickery.
Wow.
And I will have you arrested and bring criminal charges and civil charges against you. He's going to run out of there.
And if the purchase money security, what you call purchase money security interest?
Well, I want to explain those to you first because what you'll see when you read on them is they're going to say that it's strictly for business. That's not true. What it is it boils down to inventory. Now, inventory could be anything, and that inventory could be the wood flooring that you put on your floor, the roof, the windows, the bathtub. Now, once these things are inventory and the trust delivers this inventory or it loans, let's say the person who owns the property, a specific amount of money for a specific item. At the time that that person receives that inventory and it becomes affixed to the property, can you see the strength in that?
No.
Okay, well, it's inventory when it's delivered, or if you loan some money and you say buy these items specifically, because that's what it means. When you do a purchase money lien, it's either you're loaning the money to buy specific items, or you're delivering the inventory to that party, and you're saying, okay, here, now I'm going to go and file this purchase money security interest lien against what I just delivered. Now, once that stuff becomes affixed to the property, you now have an interest in the property, and it can't be removed. You understand? But what you have is a purchase money security interest lien on the inventory that was delivered, and you also have a fixture filing, which most people are not familiar. A fixture filing is powerful than a mortgage in itself.
Simple enough. Inventory is trust res, right?
Excuse me?
Inventory is trust res, right?
Exactly. You delivered it. It's your property. No, it's actually a lien. It's just a lien that you have against well, you could actually say that it is trust res and it was delivered to this particular party. You could use it that way.
So you actually have to make a delivery of those items.
You could say it was a loan for specific items.
You what?
You can say that it was a loan for specific items. Now, when you talk about the specific items, you have to look at it from the other side. What is it that you come out of your pocket with? How much money have you put into your house? So this is where it gets tricky at, because it's not like that company actually did it, but the trustee was the one who actually came out of his pocket and paid for these things. This is what you've been paying for. You're the one who went out and bought the windows. You went out and bought the. You did these things over the course of however long you stayed in your property. You just didn't know how to claim the equity. It's yours. But guess what? The bank will steal along with your house. They'll steal everything that you put into it. Now, how do you claim it?
So how does the sweat equity capitalize? Because he's not telling you anything that I haven't talked about within the last week.
I know. Well, is that sweat equity also you're including there, Gamba?
Everything. The blood, sweat, and tears, everything that you thought of, to think about that you put into that property. It's
blood, sweat, tears.
Sweat equity.
That's really good. Blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, either that or you could just put a maritime lien on a UCC-1, and that'll suffice.
Can you explain those things, though? It's very simple. Can you explain that in court as a trustee? What a maritime lien is? I've heard people talk about these maritime liens. You know what the judge is going to do? He's going to have a competency hearing for you. What are you talking about? Maritime lien, we're talking about the water. Now, trust me, I understand the concept behind it. I know it to be true that these maritime liens, but can you actually go into a court of law and explain that and make someone convince them that I'm able to file a maritime lien because my property is a vessel? This has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Can you explain that?
Chris, yeah, why would you try and tear apart what he's saying when he's saying he's got a working model? Like, I mean, we got to try and understand what he's doing on a practical level first.
What I said had nothing to do with him. I said you could file a maritime lien, and it's a matter of spending, $5 to do it?
Yes, right, but the thing is, you explain that in court.
So what he's saying has nothing to do with what you're talking about, he's saying.
No, you said I was shutting him down. I had no one down.
Oh, but Chris, do you know anybody that actually used the maritime lien properly and actually saved their house?
We're changing
I use them all the time. In fact, today we did a couple of the notices of intent to preserve an interest documents that included the appreciable equity lien right in the document that puts a lien against the property at the county.
And just to distract us from what he was just saying, like, why are we changing the topic here? I don't get this.
So we're trying to see what Chris's
right. Something that doesn't work versus something that already works. He just laid out a complete working, verified, proven model. Now we're going to.
Well, what you're doing is you're trying to put him and me against each other. I'm complimenting.
No, I didn't take it that way. And
I didn't take it that way, but this guy that's talking is putting us against each other, and I don't.
No. You're totally misinterpreting what I'm saying. It's just we're trying to focus on what he's saying, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, I didn't think it that way, sir. And again, I think he merely brought the fact of the maritime liens up as another option of maybe using liens. Like I said, I think that if you know, I think they work if you know how to use them. Me personally, I don't go down that route.
Gamba. Tell us once you get the trust set up and you have the lien set up, what kind of cause of action do you go into court with?
I try to stay out of the courtroom, and at that point,
how successful are you staying out of the courtroom?
Very successful, because once we start sending them these notices again, and doing certain things with the trust, and we put the onus on them, they seem to. I'll put it this way: I've been in my property for 6.5 years, and I've never paid but one mortgage.
Okay.
And most of the people that we deal with and that I've dealt with have been successful. We've had failures, so I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you we haven't had failures.
Are you getting reconveyances without having to go to court?
You get a reconveyance. It's already a reconveyance. It's already done. It's all about getting the contract done, getting it on paper. And I believe that you need to do this, like we all understand, through a notary. Get your contract set up. Get these people in default. Get everything certified through a notary. If you can, make public record of it. I believe that. And take the property out of your name and place it into a trust or a LLC or whatever vehicle you decide to use. You have to take it out of your name. That's the bottom line.
Is there a clause that's triggered in the contract, the mortgage contract, that enables them to come after you if you do that?
They tried to do it with me and my wife, and it was unsuccessful because the judge clearly told him, he said, listen, these people don't own the property anymore. In fact, why? He told the attorney, he said, have you checked the public record? And the attorney said, well, no, we haven't. He said, well, that's your fault because I'm looking at this warranty deed here because we had used the warranty deed at this particular time. He said, I'm looking at this warranty deed, and this trust has owned the property for 2.5 years. Why have you been attacking these people? You're going after the wrong party. So guess what? They've been fighting me and my wife for 5 years, and I guess how long they have to fight the trust.
Whatever.
It's going to probably be 10 more years. So that's my thing is this. It's just basically getting the property. Especially if you have to understand, take the property out of your name.
Well, that's the same as Christian was teaching, was to terminate the old trust, set up a new trust, then set up an LLC to do your public intercourse. Right?
And you can sell the property. You can if you're not in foreclosure or in foreclosure, take the property out your name, transfer it to a trust, put liens against the trust, maybe set up a master trust where here's the concept: set up a master trust, and these are secrets that I shouldn't be telling you guys, but I enjoy Kristen's topic on trust, so I'm gonna share these things. Set up a master trust, have that property, have that trust. Maybe a master trust, a land trust. Take the property, convey it to a land trust, have the master trust have a lien over the land trust. You see the concept here?
Yeah, and then can't you put a trust as a trustee?
Man, you can have your whole family as trustees. If they're competent. It doesn't matter.
No, can you put a trust?
Yes, another trust can be a trustee. just go down the line. The master trust has a lien against all of these subsidiary trusts. Now, land trust one holds the property, one property. And if you have 5 or 6 properties, you don't want to take all of your properties and place them into one land trust, because now you're kind of increasing you don't want to do that. It's putting all the eggs in one shell. To one basket. So what you would do is
exposure.
You would create 5 different land trusts, and you take a property and put a property into each land trust. And the master trust has a lien over all of those trusts. And that's how you conduct business. Now, if anyone wants to get paid, the first one that gets paid is the master trust. And there's nothing they can do. And another thing is the land trust, they never get recorded on the record. So finding out who the beneficiaries are or who has the beneficial interest, that's going to be a real hard one for the attorneys to find out, because it's not recorded.
Can I say something, please?
Go ahead. Yeah, it's not my fault. You have to ask Christian.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Yes. What I think, what he's trying to say, and it makes a lot of sense, because I do the same thing. I do it out of a business trust, and the land trust holds the property. The personal trust holds the personal objects, and so on and so forth. And to answer one of the questions, there's no sale undue clause according to 1983 St. Germain Act. You can convey your property into a trust LLC, and the bank doesn't have to say anything about it because it's an individual trust or it's an LLC. There's no due on sale clause. That's all. Thanks.
Yep. There's only one state that won't allow you to transfer a property into a trust once the foreclosure action is commenced, and that's Florida. Everywhere else you can do it. It's just perfectly legal to do this. This is all legal. Legal, lawful, whatever you want to call it. And like I said, from there I'm going to let Kristen take over the call, because that's what I called to listen to.
Okay, thanks. Like your input.
Christian?
Yeah. Who's this?
John, Indiana.
Hey, John.
I was reading on the UCC 11, which is like an information request, the instructions, and it says, and gives definitions. Organization is an entity having a legal identity separate from its owner. And another one is individual is a natural person. So it'll probably fit in somewhere in what we're doing.
Okay, thanks. It's kind of like something similar that we were talking about on Loom. Let's see what that was, but what was here? Identity of interest under black law.
What's it called?
Identity of interest. When things are similar and they're looking alike because they're so close.
Hello, Christian.
Yes, who's that?
This is Eddie from Denver.
Hey, go ahead, Eddie. All right.
I've been tracking your process here, and then we got lost when your website went offline, and I have a hard time finding your audios and your docs. Can you backtrack just for a minute? I know the people that are online have heard this 1,000 times, but can you just tell me, in simple terms, how I would how I would get rid of my mortgage through this trust process?
Well, we're going to do Do you have the book, Gilbert's Law Summary?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I signed up for your workshop, but then everything got taken off the air. I had no way of contacting you. So,
right, I believe it's section 442 without me looking. That's really the section 442 is talking about. Let me pull the book out.
I know you need to express the trust.
Right.
Correct. Now, I've sent something similar to what I thought you were talking about to the CFO, the Bank of America, and all he did was send me a packet back with some original papers that I have signed like 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, this guy did not understand the expressing of the trust or your document that I did find on For Shared Docs, I believe it was, website.
Right. Well, the thing is, once you merge the titles, then you get him in a breach, or he doesn't know what he's doing, or he didn't do what you wanted to do. And then
So once they're in breach, then is it time to go to court? Is that the process?
Yeah, you're going to set up records that you're going to confirm the breach. You previously set up records that you've proved and claimed the trust with.
Okay.
But that section 442, that's talking about the alienability of beneficiaries' interest and the transferee's rights. So the lien that attached says whatever conditions or limitations attached, that would be the lien. To the beneficiary's interest prior to the assignment apply against the assignee. So actually, you can transfer the lien to another party. And if that party is the trustee and you merge the two titles in it and terminate the trust, then you terminate the lien.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about, is just merging the two titles. And merging two titles is likened to a bill of exchange, although it's not. You're taking the debt title and you're merging it with an asset title, merging it in one entity, using it as a payment or terminating the trust.
And when the CFO doesn't want to cooperate, then the next step would be court. Is that correct?
Yes, right. But
okay.
There's a difference under trust because it's not like going into the court under debt or credit. Under debt or credit, you really have no power. Under trust, the burden of proof or the onus probandi now shifts to the trustee. The court of equity is going to presume that they are guilty of whatever charge the beneficiary is making or whatever claim.
Okay.
If the court of equity presumes the trustee is guilty, the only thing we want to know is when are you going to make a disbursement. That's the real power of the trust. That's in the court of equity.
Okay, sir. Any idea when your website's coming back up?
I keep getting cut back, so I'm only one person. I'm trying to work as fast as I can, and I was hoping the website would be back up this week, but it doesn't look like it's going to get there probably next week. I got 2 minutes to I'm working at the same time.
The workshop that I tried to get on board with, did that ever go through, or was that put on hold as well?
The workshop, we're still working on, I'm trying to set up a lot of groundwork to get people up to speed because, I can see right off the bat, people do not know what we're talking about. And we're going to get into this workshop, we're talking about how to do documents when you don't even know, most of them don't even have the foundation down. So I'm trying to get everybody up to speed first because we're come out with these workshops we're going to do done.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Black's Law, I was talking about identity of interest. It says under Black's 8, it says it's a relationship between two parties who are so close that suing one serves as notice to the other, so that the other may be joined in the suit. We might have lost the train of thought when we were going into that last question, but anyway. might want to look up identity of parties also.
What source, Christian? Black's Law?
Pardon?
What source, Black's Law?
Yeah, Black's Law. Yeah, 8th edition. Identity of parties, identity of interest.
Tristan?
Sky.
Yes, go ahead.
I've been doing a lot of research on this special deposit, and it appears, well, I'm going to, hang on here. Here we go. This is a agreement between Goldman Sachs and this is Goldman Sachs Mortgage Company owner and Countrywide Homes Servicing LP servicer. And this is how they use special deposit in this agreement. They go down and it says that the servicer shall segregate and hold all funds collected and received pursuant to the mortgage loans separate and apart from any of its own funds and general assets, and shall establish one or more custodial accounts in the form of time deposit or demand accounts titled Countrywide Home Loan Servicing LP in trust for, quote, name of owner. The custodial account shall be established with a qualified depository acceptable to the owner as a special deposit account. Then it goes on to use the term, it says that the escrow account shall be established with a qualified depository as a special deposit account in a manner which shall provide maximum available insurance by the FDIC and otherwise acceptable to the rating agencies. Then it goes on to say that
insurance is nothing more than assurance.
Assurance? Oh, their own personal assurance?
Yes, promise.
Okay. Then it says custodial account certification. The servicer hereby certifies that it has established the account described below as the custodial account pursuant to Section 2.04 of the Servicing Agreement dated 2005, fixed and adjustable rate mortgage loans. Custodial account shall be a special deposit account. It goes on to use that the custodial account shall be a special deposit account. The full amount deposited at any time in the account will be insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Then it says that then it repeats that quite a bit, that the escrow account should be a thing. In the beginning of the document, here is now the definition that they apply as as special deposit. But they put it as special deposit account. And then it says, an account which the owner and servicer agree shall be a special deposit account for the benefit of the related owner under applicable law. Okay? So, I found about a half a dozen or more agreements that use the word special deposit in relationship to residential home mortgages and adjustable rate home mortgages. And this is one of them, okay? So I'm just wondering what the term special deposit account means.
The account
In other words,
deposit was placed.
huh?
The account in which a special deposit was placed. How else would you keep it
So
segregated?
does that? So I was thinking about it. That's what I think, you know. And so I was thinking about it. I'm thinking, they must already be using our special deposits.
Oh, you had no idea how they're using special deposits. You're making special deposits all over the place and don't even realize it. You know, a couple of nights ago I talked about the request for discovery, and I read verbatim, and you wrote it down.
Yeah, you did, right.
Okay, what did it talk about in there? Talk about the unbroken chain of transfers and deliveries from the originator to the trust. Or
do you remember what night that was? I'll go back and listen to that again. I need to go re-listen to that.
Let me look at the highlights of it and see if you recognize just what you said. From the originator to the sponsor. From the sponsor to the depositor. From the depositor to the trust. From the originator to the trust. And also, we wanted to know who the names of that document custodian were. Now, how does that relate to what you just read?
Well, it fits the bill.
Yeah. So here all along, there's all this, you're doing business with a trust, and all that is being placed into trust is being placed into the trust how? How is it placed into trust? There's only one way.
Special deposit.
Special deposit.
Okay, now, Christian, I called today and spoke, hang on a second. Are you familiar with the Office of Administrative Hearings?
Yep.
Okay. I spoke with, actually Judge Alvarez there, and he talked to me for a long time. And, I said, after talking, I then went and talked to the California Department of Finance. Talked for a short while. Then I finally went to the California Department of Financial Institutions. Are you familiar with them?
California Financial Institution?
Yeah, it's called the Department of Financial Institution, and it's the California agency. It's a California agency. Well, the Office of Administrative Hearings, they will hear complaints before a court hears them, and they'll make some kind of ruling on them.
Yeah, by a certified judge, yeah.
Right. So I talked to the judge about it, and he said, look, he says, if you can get one of the agencies, to take your complaint, and I told, and the basis was, if I'm a grantor beneficiary, and I have a problem with a bank as a trustee carrying through with their fiduciary duties of banking, and they have violated whatever the violation is. I said, can you hear that case? So he said that if you can go to an agency, because he can only listen to complaints that come from agencies. So I found out that the agency gave me their word today from the California Department of Financial Institutions that you could lodge a complaint with them, and then they would bring the complaint to the Office of Administrative Hearings, and you'd get a ruling before it ever had to go to court.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It has an Administrative Judicial Procedures Act.
Okay.
So now what do you plan on doing with that?
Well, if you know, when I ordered the bank to pay the account with the special deposit, and if they don't, I want some kind of enforcement. that I would like to try before I have to go and hire an attorney to go to court for me. Because I'm not going to be good in court, believe me. So I would end up just lining everything up, hiring an attorney, just going there for one day, and I would work and probably take me about 4 weeks to find one that would be amicable to do everything the way the things were set up. So the idea was to see if I couldn't get them to listen from the Office of Administrative Hearings and also from a private tribunal from judicial findings of fact to show that the evidence is stacked up against them, that they don't want to go into court.
Okay, and then how would you proceed? How would you be proceeding in this judicial proceeding then? What would you be bringing forward?
What would I do to bring it forward?
Yeah, what's your claim going to be?
Well, my claim would be to get them into a breach of trust. I mean, as a cause of action.
So you're going to come in under a trust and under try to enforce a breach of trust through that judicial proceeding.
Yes. Well, not just a breach of trust, but I mean, it's going to be securities oriented also. So it would be a breach of trust, and it would be a breach of fiduciary duty, and it would be the conversion, and it would be commingling of the trust rest, the corpus, and it would be at least those 4 causes of action.
Right.
But I mean, once I get to that point, don't you think I could just get an attorney to do the court part of it?
I think we need to see more actions under more trust purposes, and breach of trust.
Well, I said breach of trust, breach of fiduciary duty.
Well, that's what I was trying to draw out, was that you're coming out under trust, under breach of trust, yeah.
Yeah, I said that. That was the first thing I said. Yeah, the main thrust would be a breach of trust. And also, let me ask you this question. If you have a debt validation letter, which I have, and they've already defaulted, you have a breach of, you have a, what cause
would really be a breach of trust?
Huh?
Yeah, you would have a bad faith dealing because they didn't validate the debt, and you had an administrative judgment by the notary, so to speak, confirming or certifying that that was a bad faith act, and that would really be a breach of trust.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. They sent a letter. God, I was amazed they sent a letter today. Or this was the deadline was actually yesterday. And they sent a letter, but they didn't answer the debt validation. They just said that they would work on it. So now I have to give them time for them to work on it?
Well, in your notice or your demand, did you give them a set amount of time that they had to
work
on before they fell into a breach?
Yeah, I gave until that day, and they came back right on time with just this little tiny letter that said, we got your letter. But they didn't give me anything I asked for.
Okay, default.
Okay.
Have the notary certified that there was a non-response.
I talked to her today about it, and that's what I was going to do tomorrow, actually. So,
yeah, they're in default, so just go ahead and file the papers against them, and go forward with the
breach of trust.
Stuff. Yeah.
Well, I was going to go in for a temporary restraining order first, so that I could work on the a possible administrative remedy, through the Office of Administrative Hearings to see if they would listen to that. And once I get I'm bringing a securities attorney that's an auditor in, and he will have the proof that they've commingled the funds. So I figured that once I had the proof that they've commingled the funds, they're going to be a lot more interested in listening.
Right. A lot of the success is probably going to be coming from thinking about this before you really start acting about it. Because it's going to come in the setup. Because you're going to set it all up first for what's going to take place. And after it's all been set up, all system to enforce what was already set up.
Okay, Christian, listen carefully. Gamba, are you still on the phone? Christian, how many people are on the phone right now?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I want you to hear what I'm going to say, Gamba, okay?
Not a problem.
I've been working on a deal to help a bunch of poor people. A lot of them. In the thousands, by the way, of people that have lost their homes. And so I set up a trust to help these people, and I've got 1,500 families that, that what you've been doing, Gamba? About half of them we did that with. And they've been in their house for probably, anywhere from 12 months to 18 months, no problems, okay? And now they all want to buy their homes. So we're kind of doing a similar thing like what you're doing, okay? But there's about a half a dozen guys that have gathered anywhere from 30 to 250 families together, and they've all saved their homes with exactly what you're saying, by taking their homes and putting it into a trust, okay? And I've seen it amazingly work with these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families. But they're all on the hook, and they're now, in a position where they got to do something to, these guys aren't doing what you're doing. These guys are more conventional. These guys are just trying to, stay alive and feed their families and not get thrown out on the streets and stuff like that. And it's just masses, And in California, there's just it's 95% Hispanic, by the way, that have gotten that are going through this around in this part of the country, And so anyway, I just wanted to tell you that I've seen that method that you're doing work phenomenal. I mean, I've seen those master trusts with lots of families in them, and way more than 5.
It works. It works. It's
sure, I've seen ones with 20, 25 homes in them.
Just like Christian says, it's just about understanding. You just have to understand who you are, and if you're going to operate as a trustee, you definitely need to understand who you are, because if you don't, you'll be in more mess than you started off in.
Hey, Gamba, have you ever merged the grant deed with the deed at the county?
Have I ever merged it?
Yeah, have you ever given the grant deed back to the county?
Yeah, of course. I have no problem with doing that. I like making public records. I believe it's necessary.
Before you sell the property into a trust, you return the grant deed?
Well, no. What we do is we take the property. The grantor, which is the straw man, grants the property over to the trust. Okay, obviously, if you don't make a public record of that, then no one knows about it.
Right.
So you have no prima facie case that the property has actually been transferred.
Right.
So when these people get in the court trying to say that, we didn't know, they can actually say that they didn't know because you never recorded it. So you have to record it. At least a deed, some type of a deed, whether it's a warranty deed.
How much do you put down for the transfer tax? $10?
No, all of our warranty deeds are done in gold, silver, 21 ounce.
Really? Good idea.
Yeah, the consideration is always gold and silver.
Huh?
The consideration is gold and silver. And here in Michigan, they accept it. I don't know what California would do, because California, it's hard to get documents in California. We've had clients in California, and you have to really be strategic to get your documents recorded in California.
Which document?
Anything. They will refuse everything. I mean, and I know this from personal experience because I have several clients in California, and you have to be strategic to get those documents recorded because they will just refuse it, and they don't, and they'll say they won't even give you a reason why. I mean, I had a lady just the other day do a revocation of the trust deed based on agreement, and she had every right to do it. These people were in complete dishonor. They had violence. I mean, she had their consent to do this. They wouldn't record.
That makes a lot of sense. I've seen that before. It's like, and so that's true then. They will go out of their way. I've had like 4 or 5 cops just to enter into evidence some documents, and they'll just sit there for, it was 45-minute conversation, the guy refusing it until he finally did. Because I threatened to subpoena 5 cops.
Let's mortgage for a second.
Yeah, well, I'm just talking about it. It's not going against what he's saying.
So, Gamba, what have you done in California to push the envelope, to push it through?
Well, again, like I explained to you earlier, what we do is we take it and first thing you have to do is stop the trust, the sale. Because these people have amazing power. They don't have to go to court. You know that, right?
Say it again, I couldn't hear you. It was breaking up.
I say when you're talking about a deed of trust state, you do understand they do have to go to court first.
Right.
Everything is non-judicial. So what the first thing you have to do is stop the sale. Buy yourself a book.
And how do you do that?
It's very simple to stop a sale. That's the simplest thing to do.
How?
Like I said to you earlier, first and foremost, you have to have the property check. See, the thing that they're attacking the grantor. And it's an assumption game here. They're assuming that the grantor is still in possession of the property. That's who they went into contract with. So the first thing you have to do is get the property out of the grantor's name and into a trust name or LLC or a corporation or whatever you decide to use. And then you have to establish a lien with that particular corporation, LLC, or trust. And then you go to the trust sale after you've served notice because it's imperative that you serve notice. Without notice, it ain't going to fly. You have to serve notice on these people. You do it through a notary. Make sure that the notary certifies that you sent these documents out. And, you want to cover your ass. Excuse my language, but that's what you have to do. And you serve notice on these people. Give them a certain time to respond. If they don't respond, which they're not, now you have the evidence that you need that shows that they were served, they were notified that there was, in fact, another owner of the property, and that that particular owner of the property had a lien against the property. They cannot have a public sale without notifying these people of that. That's largely by trickery. When you go to a public sale, or these trustees go to a sale and they've been notified that the property has been transferred and that there's liens against it and they still have the sale, that's a criminal act. Simple and plain. And so you serve notice on them, but to cover your ass, you also go to the sale, but not as the former owner, but as the business owner that's representing the trust, as the trustee.
Not as the owner?
No, the owner has nothing to do with going. It's in trust.
But as the owner of the new entity?
The trust is the owner of the property now.
Right.
The property has been conveyed. Not only has the property been conveyed to the trust, but the trust has liens against the property. So the trust is the one who is now doing the business. They have nothing to do with the grantor anymore. Granted, the grantor may be still in the house, and I'm not going to sit here on the phone and tell you some of the things that you should or shouldn't do, but these people play dirty. You have to play dirty sometimes. You may still be in your house, but are you going to tell them that?
That's what all these Mexican guys do here in California. Exactly what you're saying.
Right,
and they do like a property management contract.
Right. So the only one that can defeat your process is you, because the judge is going to clearly ask you, do you have any property at the, if you have a pair of shoes at the house, they will give them a writ of possession to take your house. Did you know that?
No. So he's got to be completely out of the house?
Well, you have to say it for the record. Now, whether or not you do that or not, I'm not going to tell you to do that. I'm not going to tell you to do anything illegal. I'm just telling you that these are the methods. If you say on the record that you have any property at that location, and here in Michigan, they will issue a writ of possession and allow them to come take their stuff. So, of course, my opinion, if they ask me that for the record, your sir, do you have any property at the location? Absolutely not. And I could still stand there, and I will be standing there. That's my opinion.
I believe it. I've seen it, Gamba. I've seen 5 guys personally, just like you, and they've even given me all their documents to prove how they've done it and everything.
But I'm not telling anybody on this call to utilize that method. You know, because if you don't know how to do it and you're scared to do it, then by all means, let them take your house. Me personally, I can't afford it. I have 4 dogs.
That's good, Gamba.
Chris? Is this Chris or Jacob?
Chris.
Oh, that's Jacob. That's Jacob.
I just said Chris.
Chris. Okay. I was wondering, have you been teaching these how to do it, or are you like playing God and doing everything for them, or what's the program that you're running?
Well, unfortunately, like in California, the people aren't really bright enough to do it themselves. You got to realize that. I mean, that's basic.
Well, Mexicans are pretty smart.
Before you do this stuff. One thing I was trying to point out here, I've got a 68-point setup just in the fine print, where it's respondent's failure to respond to whatever this document would be called, say, second notice and demand, hereafter called notice, in care of the notary public within 3 days of postmark of this mailing plus 3 days grace, as the effective date is tacit agreement of the parties with this second notice and demand and that, and then follows the 68 points. So when they don't respond back to certain things, then they're agreeing to the 68 points. And they start out, some of them, like offer of immunity, when grantor opens grantor's transaction account, talking about different schedules of contractor, the trust is voluntary, you agree with the terms in the contract, and blah, 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 waiver of rights, terms of respondent and respondents, the claim, what the claim means, the parties, definitions basically, what would be an impairment of this trust, judgment, failure to respond. So it's set up stuff like this one in particular, failure to respond and failing to respond, means failure to respond to this notice and or insufficiency of response as the term is defined herein by the effective date, and failure to respond conveys respondent's agreement with all of the terms and provision of this notice. It's stuff like this. If you don't have this kind of stuff in the setup prior to, you're going to be ineffective in setting things up and having enforcement rights. So there's a lot
How you got it going? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just making sure I was back on the call. I got my call.
Then there's another one is like terms non-performance and failure to perform are defined as being a failure to perform in any obligation under this notice on or before the effective date, including without limitation failure to respond to this notice as a term of defined herein, and failure to exhibit evidence of a claim upon the request. Failure to provide timely termination and restitution upon the distress upon the tender of consideration. Failure to provide the creditor, set off of the settlement statement, order, or other acceptable considerations by the effective date. providing a fraudulent offer. On and on. Finding terms like
better meet everybody else.
Yeah.
Unmuted. Muted.
Terms like stultified, stultification, what it means, agreement of the parties, the term contract, or even the term, say, trust. So all these things are spelled out in the details. It sets it up to the fine little details that is going to make the outcome of what you want. Like all definition terms and words are as the claimant comprehends them to be. And that's on the fine print of the wording, like the 68 points on the end. I just want to point out that, a lot of this stuff is, we're going over basic concepts and stuff. There's more detail than what we're really revealing. And that's where really the administration of trust comes in. And we're just trying to get the concepts down and things. It's just like what I said before, taking off before you learn how to land an airplane is a suicide mission. Because once you take off, you got to land a thing.
Well, Christian, I like the idea of again, and just application is a good example, and as long as it's in I guess for that metaphor, in the form of a simulation, you gotta, I guess, as long as you tell people this is the application, because it's a great way to learn, but it's for the purpose of studying. You do it in your head. This is not for you to go out and do. As long as you have that clear in people's heads, because they got to learn from an application. I think would really speed up the, it's tangible for people, and then they can tie.
Flavor examples like what Floyd was talking about, like a hypothetical question of paying, say, an electric bill.
Right.
Really puts out some things out there and really makes people start to think. Even when we talk about, say, the NTT making payment by merging the titles, nobody really thought the signature line is grantor/trustee. Nobody really questioned that. Well, how come is grantor/trustee in there? Is that for a purpose? Nobody had, as what could that mean? Could it mean something different than it literally implies?
Exactly. Well, yeah, I think there's some parties here that kind of discourage asking of questions, as if you're not smart enough to ask these questions. But yeah, that's always been a question in my mind. Funny you mentioned that, because are you putting it as grantor or trustee, or were you putting it as grantor and trustee, and why? But even the electric bill.
Situations you're going to just be functioning just as grantor, and then maybe other situations you want to be grantor and trustee, or you just want to be another situation where you're just trustee.
Sure. Even in the example of an electric bill, again, I would say just look at it from a complete model until you can run the whole thing through your head backwards and forwards. I still wouldn't even apply it in the real world. That's just the way I am, though.
But you would never understand that unless you really knew what the term grantor meant and the duties of the grantor, and that same thing with the office of trustee. And then thinking, what am I doing here? Am I acting as grantor, or am I acting as trustee? Well, if I'm acting as trustee, I certainly don't want to sign as grantor.
But that would be a good model. See, that's the point. If you can run through it in your head, you would be able to, keep running through it until you get up to the question, bring it back to you, get it corrected, go back to your model, keep running through it until you can actually see this whole play, in essence, in your head, and there should be a whole understanding eventually. But yeah, it's one of those things.
What I'm progressing into more is more on how to administer the trust.
Which is a part of this application.
And other things we've been discussing, yeah.
Well, I would like to put forward that if you want to get onto a model of, paying an electric bill and take it from beginning to end and going back and forth between application and theory, I'm definitely trying to push that and forward that. And I imagine if people could understand what I'm saying, they'd be kind of interested in that too, because it's a focus, a reference.
Start off at a kickoff of a call first, because it's quarter one over here now, and in order to get into a model situation here, we may get into a 2-hour discussion.
Oh yeah, I don't mean right now. I mean exactly. Like I imagine I'll be proposing this quite a lot over a long period of time. And like I said, even if because I know Jacob and Chris, they like to do the real estate stuff. Maybe you can designate a day where just Jacob and Chris can ask you questions for the whole call, and then you can designate another one where we focus more on the electricity bill.
Actually, they're both the same, really.
Yep.
Well, yeah, but a lot of people are not real estate lawyers or into real estate law. I mean, I know it's a big issue with mortgages and stuff, but I think there's a difference between paying a real estate mortgage and paying an electric bill, personally.
There's not.
Well, in your mind, and I can appreciate your opinion on that.
Well, Christian just told you there wasn't.
Oh, okay. Well, and I appreciate Christian's opinion on that. I beg to differ, though.
Hey, Christian.
Okay, maybe I ought to bring it up, on the next call. Jump in kind of early, and we'll get this,
Can you talk up, CW?
Pardon?
Can you talk up? I barely hear you.
Hey, Christian.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, this is George from North Carolina. Quick question for you. I've been listening to your past recordings, and I think I understand pretty well the merging titles. The one thing that I'm stuck on, though, is trying to understand what the actual details are on the filing of the UCC 1 and 3. Has there been a show in the past where you went into detail on those, and if so, is it possible you might be able to point me to a particular date?
Yeah, there's been plenty of past shows that have gone over that in detail. I don't remember the dates. Is anybody out there can point him in the right direction?
March 2nd.
Okay. And does anybody have an index of shows, where there might be, a couple of lines on what the topics were that were covered on particular shows?
I'll try to take and put it into the title, the main thing, but I don't know if anybody else has any detail.
There's so many topics on each show.
Okay. March 2nd. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Christian?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you adverse to somebody selling the property into a trust? If I were to take my house and have the house sold into a trust, it's actually in someone else's name. If they sold it to me, and then I was the owner, I was the trustee of the trust, and there would be no owner of the trust, is that possible?
No owner of the trust?
Well, I mean,
there's no beneficiary.
Huh?
The purpose of the trust exists solely for the benefit of the beneficiary. If there's no beneficiary that's identifiable within the time limit, there's no valid trust.
Well, the beneficiary would be the trust that owns the trust. It's sort of like, like there's a master trust, and then the house is sold to a trust, and that trust is owned by a trust, a master trust. So the master trust would be the beneficiary, and then whoever's put into the land trust that the house is in.
Excuse me, sir. Can I correct you? No. So absolutely. You don't want to name the master trust after the beneficiary.
So it's going to have a different.
Why would you do that? What would be the purpose of that? I'm not asking you to tear down your theory, but I want to ask you, what would be, in your opinion, because obviously you have these opinions, what would be the purpose in that? What would be the benefit for you?
For what?
To make your master trust the beneficiary under another trust. Keyword, master trust.
No. The master trust is over the land trust.
Exactly. Now, the land trust is not going to be a beneficiary either.
Okay, who's going to be the beneficiary?
He's trying to tell you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's going to be beneficiaries that's under each of these land trusts that you have. And they could be corporations, they can be other trusts, they can be legal persons, they can be private parties, whoever. But the master trust is going to have a lien over all of the land trusts. You don't make your master trust a beneficiary to anything. Again, like I stated earlier, and this is just my opinion. I could be totally dead wrong with this, but I love naming these courts, these credit card companies, these utility companies, all of them as beneficiaries. I love it.
So you're going to make the creditor, all the creditors beneficiaries.
Yeah, of course. It gives me complete control.
He's in control of the adventure because he's also grantor trustee. So he gets to dictate the terms. Who's
grantor trustee? The land trust or the master trust?
Sorry, I couldn't hear what Christian said.
He just said that they're all going to be grantor trustees. So Gamba, the land trust is going to have a grantor and a trustee.
The property is personal property, and the grantor is the beneficiary under a land trust. He is the grantor and beneficiary. He has beneficial interest rights into the property, and it's considered personal property under a land trust. It can't be taken unless they can identify the beneficiaries, and that's why you don't record a land trust.
And what do you record then?
You record a deed of trust. That's it. Conveying the property to the land trust. Now, the attorney, he only has one option, and I've seen this done where they'll try to file a motion with the courts to compel the trustee to identify the beneficiary, which you just plead the fifth. I can't do it. This is a private contract. I'm not going to do it. I can't identify these beneficiaries without having liability myself. So do you want to be a party to the contract? If I'm held liable, do you also want to be a joiner in that?
Okay, so let's say I have a house, and I'm going to sell it to a land trust. And the party that I sell it, I'm going to be the grantor, and there's going to be a
beneficiary, but you also have to create. You have to have. This is the key that people I think are getting this all. Excuse my language. Fucked up.
Go ahead.
This grantor beneficiary. See, there's 5 elements to a trust. You have a grantor, you have a beneficiary, and you have a trustee. You also have to have legal intent or purpose, and you have to have property. This in trust, which is the red, the actual corpus of the trust. Those are the elements of the trust. Now, somewhere around that you have to figure out which one of those positions that you can take that works best for you. Me personally, I don't take on the role of grantor and trustee. To me, that it creates an alter ego, and it can be knocked down by a good attorney. You can do it. You can do it, but again, to me, I like to make every party different.
Okay, so walk me through this. I'm going to sell the property to the trust, but the trust is going to be going to have a parent, a master trust over it. That master trust, the master trust is going to have some sort of a lien.
Right, it's just the financing company. That's it. It makes loans to the subsidiary trusts that are underneath it. These trusts that are underneath it, it goes to the master trust when it needs certain inventory items or whatever, loans. So that this trust is, in essence, the master bank.
Okay.
They're the mortgage companies, exactly what they're doing to us right now. But you're taking total control of everything. Is that correct, Benjamin?
Exactly. And this master trust to act as a financing company to all of your trust that you have. You have a world of trust that you just set up. Now, you can totally fuck this up too by going outside of that world of trust that you just established and invoking benefits and privileges from the public.
If what?
You can totally fuck this whole thing up, excuse my language again, by using, you see, the way that we set it up is we have it's a family of trust. And again, the master trust is sitting here at the top. And you may have 10 other trusts that's established underneath it. And we try to do business within that family of trust with each other.
Like a community.
Right, it's a community, yes. Trust is a legal person. It is a person. So you can match that up, or you could actually. You can. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't invoke the benefits and privileges of the public for your benefit, but I mean, you have to be real careful with that on how you do that when you have this family of trust set up.
I have a notice of sale. I have a sale date, let's say, and there's going to be trustee sale ASAP. So what I want to do is I want to sell the house to this trust.
Don't use the term sale. You can ban the property for valuable consideration.
You what?
Don't use the term sale. You just can ban the property over to a trust for valuable. You're giving valuable consideration.
So you're granting it.
Right. You're granting the property over to the trust.
Okay, so I grant the property to the trust, not sell it.
Really.
And keep this in mind. You can only grant what you have in the property. You can't grant something that you don't have. If you have no interest, you're granting zero interest, which can be done through a quitclaim deed. That's all a quitclaim deed means. It means nothing else. It means that the property is being conveyed to another party, whether you have 100% interest or no interest. So that's all you're doing. Now, the trust who now has been conveyed this interest, it has the leverage of saying, well, we have this interest now, we're going to attack, and we're going to go in the attack mode, because we believe he has 100% interest. We believe that he paid for the property at closing, which I'm sure you agree with that as well, too, right? Of course. So the trust now has the ability to attack.
So if it's going to be put into a land trust, but you don't want to record the land trust, what are you going to record? A trust deed?
A deed of trust. Or a deed in trust, deed of trust, deed in trust. This is what gives the public notice that there is a property that has been conveyed, more commonly known as, to this particular land trust. Now,
you did a private transaction under trust, but then you give the public notice, and that notice is the warranty deed or the deed of trust.
okay, and now they know that the property has been conveyed to a trust, the land trust. Now, here's the kicker. They have to find out who the beneficiaries are to that land trust. By it not being recorded, that's going to be very hard to do. Because that's the only parties that they can bring suit against. Now, they can bring suit against the trust, or try to, but under a land trust, it's not going to fly. And I know this for a fact because we've done it over and over and over and over.
Well, how do you get the county in California to record that deed of trust? Don't you have to have a trustee sale?
You bring them.
Well, in California, what you may want to do, because we did this with a lady, is you may want to use, as opposed to using a deed of trust, because that is a deed of trust state, and they're familiar with that. You may want to use a quick claim deed. Right. They will record those.
Yeah, you're right. That's what these guys use. It's exactly what they do. And they put $10 on there they put gift, and they put $10 transfer tax, and that's it.
Right. Don't use a deed of trust in California because they won't record that.
Right. So you use a quick claim deed in California.
I'm in California. Let me explain that. I'm in California. I do this all the time. Jason, even us in California know that. Come on. You have to use a grant deed. Grant deed is the highest power in deeds. It's higher than obviously than a quick claim.
Oh, you use a grant deed to do it, Carlos?
Yes. Hold on. Let me say something.
I agree with that as well. That possibly you can use that too, but you can't use a deed of trust.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. You use a grant deed, a basic grant deed, and a certificate of trust. I do this every day. Well, I'm exaggerating. Not every day. I've done it for 15 properties that I have. You use a grant deed, and you use a certificate of trust. That's it. You don't have to request anything else.
What is a certificate of trust?
California certificate of trust.
Well, the certificate of trust is certifying there's a trust. That's all a certificate of trust is.
Well, certifying there's a trust.
Jason, even us in California know that. Come on.
Carlos, it's Jacobo.
Oh, Jacobo.
Yeah.
Jacob, let him talk.
Well, Jacob, I have done this. I've been following land trust since I was young and pretty. Trust me, a long time ago, and I learned the hard way. I paid a lot of money for them to teach me how to do it, and the first one that I did, I went ahead and recorded everything, which you're not supposed to. It's real simple. The simplest thing in the world is two documents, the grant deed and the certificate of trust. And they'll record it every day. I have no problem. If you want, I'll send you what do you call that? I mean, you just template. I have two templates.
Plantillo.
Template.
Wow. So, what is your name, sir?
My name is Carlos in California.
Carlos, how do I get a hold of you, Carlos?
One at a time.
Carlos, how do I get a hold of you?
You can Skype me.
What is it?
It's trust law. Capital T, trust L, capital L, trust law.
Capital L?
Capital, yes. Capital T in trust. In one word, trust law. Capital L.
Okay, can I after the call, I'll talk to you, Carlos.
Well, you can call me, I'll call you back because I'm doing something else. I'm doing a BK7 right now. I won't have time to talk, but I'll be more than glad to answer your question. I mean, this is the simplest thing. Well, even Mexicans can do it. That's how simple it is.
Skype me the documents tonight. I'll go over them, and then I'll Skype you in the morning.
Okay.
Okay, Carlos?
Yes.
Muchas gracias, amigo.
Okay. And don't say us in California are idiots, okay?
Don't say what?
Don't say people in California are not so bright. We're one of the brightest.
Entiendo.
You know how you can tell I'm bright? Because I follow the bright people. I follow.
Yeah. You're with Christian. I know you're bright.
Yes. I don't follow idiots. Anyway,
Carlos, you agree with the land trust?
It's 100%. You know what? It's the simplest thing in the world. It's the simplest thing in the world. How I do it, I do a business trust, which is a master trust. Check this out, and you probably don't know this. If you look under trust, under T, obviously, you're going to find trust, all trust in the library. Obviously, makes sense. But if you look for business trust, you won't find it under T. You'll find it under B. No. Is there a relationship? No, there's not a relationship. Check that out next time.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll look at that.
Yeah, very interesting. So let me recap this for Jacob.
Yes.
The simplest thing in the world. Don't make life harder than it is. Don't try to invent anything. Two documents, the grant deed. I mean, obviously, you're not going to do a quit claim because the quit claim doesn't have power over the grant deed. If you do a grant deed, you have more power when the bank comes in and reconveys a deed. What I'm trying to say, when the bank sells the property, they do a quit claim. They don't do a grant deed. So you always have higher position in the county because you have the grant deed, even though you convey it from your name into a trust. What I do, I put I live on 28403 Falcon Crest Drive. My trust is Falcon Crest Drive Trust. That's it. They can never find me. I owe someone $9,000 illegally. He wanted to nail me. He couldn't. Who couldn't find me? I have 15 properties. He could not find me.
Okay.
So, hey, Carlos, isn't it an awesome technique?
Oh, it is. You know why? Because not even the IRS knows I have those properties. They would find out if I had.
They cannot find the beneficial holder, the beneficial interest holder.
I know. But it's nice. It's real simple. All right. Sorry, guys. Keep going.
Thank you, Carlos.
No problem. Thanks.
And you are right, Carlos, because you are from California, and I was born there.
Yeah, and you know what? I spent some money trying to find out how to do it, because there's a guy that does he's a real estate guru. He does land trust. He does everything on the land trust. That's how he started. And I learned the right way how to do it. And I also learned the hard way because I went back and forth until every time I go to a recording office, they don't say anything. Thank you. Bye. $8. No, it's okay.
Carlos.
Yes.
Carlos, is it Canyon Country?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me give you another tip.
Okay.
When you go there, you're gonna record your grant deed and your certificate of trust. Okay? Fine. Don't do anything else. Pay the extra $20 because they're gonna say some kind of bullshit about the property, whether you bought it or not. Don't fill anything out. Pay the $20 extra. That way, when they record it, nothing of your personal name goes on that recording. If you fill anything else, they're gonna add. For instance, the Malibu Trust. I have a property that's Malibu Trust, and if you add anything else, they're going to put RTS or TRS, your name. So
just the two documents.
Yes, don't file anything else. Trust me, I've been there. I mean, that's how it works in California.
You're absolutely correct, Carlos. There's only two documents needed.
Yes, if you fill anything else, if you want to be cheap and you don't want to spend the extra $20, you're doing yourself some harm because they're gonna take that info and they're gonna apply it to the deed. And guess what? When the deed comes up in the public records, there it is, your name. And what's the purpose? You defeated the purpose. The purpose is to get your name out of the public records. If you put your name anyplace else, the only name that's supposed to be on the certificate of trust is the trustee. That's it. And the only way that...
Carlos, check your Skype to see if it came through, please, before you get off.
Hang in there, honey. Hang in there. So, you got my inspiration. So, because I'm telling you because I done this many times, and every time I go, it's in and out 5 minutes. And I'm in California, dude, and they don't record anything. But they know better. I'm not doing anything illegal. The only thing that I do, if you have to do it, you have to put this conveyance. It's a conveyance from in and out of a inter-vivos trust. You have to put that in there. They know, and don't fill anything else. That's 2 items. That's it. That's it.
Well, you just mark the inter-vivos trust.
Yes. You're gonna see it on my deed when I send it to you. And check this out. I was gonna say something very interesting, but you cut me off. No, here it is. Then they're gonna send you a letter, and they're gonna tell you, show us the document. And then on that document, you're gonna mail them a copy of the trust. But so what? It's already been recorded. And all they want to see is they want to see the trust itself. I mean, it's about 6-7 pages. All they want to do, they see it, they throw it away. And it doesn't have to be notarized. I mean, you can put the beneficiary whoever you want. It's been recorded, so who cares?
That's the land trust, Carlos?
It is a land trust.
So you're going to send me that one, the 6-7 pages?
If you're good.
I'm good.
If you don't talk a lot, I will.
I won't call. I'll quit calling.
Well, let me give you a tip.
Carlos, make that for the whole month.
Let me give you a tip, Jason. I mean, what's it, Jason, right?
Jacobo,
let me give a tip. I mean, we all love you, but let everybody else finish their sentence.
Okay.
Am I right, guys?
Amen.
Yeah. Amen.
It's the Illuminati bloodline. Don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, we have to respect
Get some fresh blood in there, man.
We have to respect each other. And sometimes I don't say what I want to say because I want to let I have to respect. There's nothing against. We all love each other. I mean, we're here to help. I mean, what interest do I have in what does Christian interest that he has? He's not getting anything. He's teaching us a lot of stuff for free. Even this new gentleman that came up. I'm glad he showed up because he's on my side. All right, guys. Thanks, Christian.
Okay. Christian, what he's trying to say that there's an art in listening. You're right. The white man listens, the scripture says.
Yeah, the white man listens. Says, you know what I found out? Every time I want to say something and I hold back, I learn. That's what I found out.
Thank you, Carlos, for the gentle correction, and thank you guys for putting up with me. And I'll try to not talk so much. I promise.
We're gonna try to forgive you. We're gonna try hard. No,
I hope you can, because I like you guys so much. I want to keep contributing if I can.
And don't get me wrong, dude. We give you a lot of credit. Credit, but just let everyone else speak. Hold back. Listen. The more you listen, the more you learn.
Okay, I have my hands up to the Creator, and I'm asking for all that you gave me to come into me right now.
Well, keep praying.
Okay.
Christian, do we have grantees in Florida as well?
I'm not sure.
How can I find out? Call the county clerk's office?
Probably just do a Google on the Florida Statute website, and it'll come up grantees.
All right. I wanted to, I'm not really up as much as you guys on this. I want to ask Gamba, just before he was going about not being the grantor and trustee, and you're saying like to separate all the parties. I was wondering if you could kind of maybe go through all the parties, who's the grantor, who's the beneficiary, who's the trust, how do you lay it out?
Well, in my opinion, the grantor is always the straw man, obviously. The beneficiaries is whoever you decide for that to be. And then you have a trustee, and you make sure that that trustee is competent. But I like to make all the parties different. And that's the way that we do things. In a nutshell, I don't want them to be able to say that this is an alter ego, whereas the grantor and the trustee are the same party. I never do that. Now, I may create a grantor beneficiary type position, but never grantor trustee. I don't do it that way. Now, I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I don't do it that way.
where the grantor and the trustee are the same party.
Trust, then the grantor would be out of the position, out of the party, out of the transaction once he's granted it into the trust.
Christian, start on that again because we didn't hear that whole thing, please.
Or I was asking, would you say that the grantor, once he grants into the trust, he steps out of the grantor position? He's no longer serves a purpose. He's like, that's it.
That's it. It's over to him. Right. He's irrevocably conveyed everything.
Right.
Now, you have to have a
trustee at the same time. It's just like he's functioning at one time or another. He's not both parties. He's either one or the other.
Now, you can do it, Christian. I mean, it is.
Trust. And then once he's granted in the trust, unless he's reserved a right as trustee, he's no longer grantor. He's done. He's now out of the picture.
Oh. I mean, it can be done, but, I mean, you could find any attorney out of law school that could easily construe that trust as being an alter ego to hide assets, to do all sorts of legal things that they would construe in their mind, because I've seen it done. It's called an alter ego.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so I don't like that position. And so to answer your question, I think all parties should be different. The grantor, the beneficiary, and the trustee.
Gamba?
Yeah.
Gamba, do you have a way I can get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm on Skype. You can just go under, let's see here, Gamba, Mwenye, just type it in, and it'll come up. Add me to the contact.
And it's Gamba.
Yeah, you probably won't find another name like that, so just Gamba, and it'll pull me up. And my last name is Mwenye, space EL. And again, Christian, I applaud you for bringing forth this technology as far as trust, because I believe that this is what it should have been. This is where it should have been years ago. We wouldn't be in the situation that we are in now.
Right, I agree with you. Yeah.
Everything is trust, but it's just what position are you trying to take?
Right. Right. Well, guys, I'm getting kind of tired, so.
Christian, one quick thing. Christian, one quick thing. On the making a payment with NTT. All right, you know how we have the thing that looks like the check on the front of it, and then you have items down on the bottom that you put on the back.
Right.
Okay. Well, if we're doing a birth certificate, do we in fact put the thing that looks like a check on the front of the birth certificate and put the items that go on the back of the birth certificate? Is that how we would do it in fact?
Don't have to. I might just put, like my name and signature on the front and date that. So
Christian, I gotta disagree with you with that.
Say again?
Why would you put your endorsement on the front of the check? Would that not be defacing the instrument itself? When you're endorsing any type of negotiable instrument, the endorsement always goes on the back.
If this is not a negotiable instrument, it's non-negotiable.
Oh, when they send you a bill and it has an attachment to it, whereas you can detach the bottom of it, that is a negotiable instrument. And a lot of people, I believe, are
the title, and then when we put our stuff on there, that becomes the asset title, and then we'll give a notice that we've merged them as payment, as a special deposit.
I have respect with that, but just please hear me out. Do you agree that there's a such thing as accepted for value when you receive a presentment?
No, we're not accepting it for value. I didn't mean to.
Can't be accepted for value.
Yeah, we're not doing accept for value.
But it can't be returned with value through trust.
Yeah, because except for value, return for value is under the public debtor creditor. We're sticking solely private trust and merging the two titles.
Well, I have some information on that, and I'll share that with you on another topic. I mean, if it's possible for me to converse with you privately, and I have some information that will change your mind about that.
Okay.
I'd like to hear that. Gamba, are you saying you feel that you have a usable process there as far as the bill statement? Or I should say the statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to be in touch with you as well. That's where my focus is.
I'm pretty sure that this is the process, and it's just how you do it. There's no such thing. Accepted for value? How can it be accepted for value? These people are nuts when they even think of that. Accepted for value. Now listen to what you're saying. You're receiving a presentment in the mail, and you're saying it has value. It has no value. It can't be accepted for value. It's only accepted. Now, it can be returned with value. Now, how you do that is the key.
Okay. Well, I guess going to your website and correspondence through there is the way to formally get in contact with you.
Yeah, that's the number that's at the top. Again, like I said,
I imagine you're busy.
But yeah, we try to be, but I have no problem with talking. I love to talk. I enjoy it. I have a passion for this, and so there's no problem.
Gamba, Shane, can I keep asking Christian, the question I was originally asking, and just give him the chance to lay it out, and if you have some rebuttal, Gamba, just maybe once he lays out the whole idea, then maybe you can rebut. But I just need to hear this so I understand how to apply this on the birth certificate in its current form, and then we can rebut after. So you were saying, Christian, to do the endorsement on the front. Christian, are you still there?
I think Christian said he was getting off because he was tired.
I'm here.
There he is.
I'm not saying that we do an acceptance on the front. You don't really have to put even a signature on the front. But if I was going to do that, the back parts are real critical.
So specifically, what on the front of the birth certificate? I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the back parts, we're going to turn it into a bearer form, and then that's going to be the asset, equitable asset that you're returning as payment.
So the
front on that birth certificate, I might want to put my signature and a date. That's all about it. I would put on the birth certificate.
Okay. And then on the back?
On the back, and then I'll put that example without recourse. To pay to in blank and the rest of it there.
So the item that looks like a check that says non-negotiable special trust deposit, do you put that on the back?
No.
Pardon?
Maybe sometime I want to put that on the front of some document.
Okay, but you're not going to put that on the back of the birth certificate?
No, I don't think so. No, not on the back, no.
Okay.
Just that endorsement check.
That's what I thought. I cleared it up.
It's just like the example there. I gave the front part would be like the check part if you put that on certain things, but the back part would be just the endorsement.
And the reason we're not putting the front part on the birth certificate is because the birth certificate is already set up for payment. Is that right?
Well, I don't see any reason why to put any check-like stuff on the front other than maybe just signing it. And that signature would be acting as, I've received it, I've accepted it, and I'm going to return it. But that's not accept for value, return for value, though. It's like and do. Nothing more than that. That's section 442 under Gilbert's.
Okay. Going back to that again. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that.
because I've been looking at that document the last 3 or 4 days, and just trying to get a couple questions in there, and hopefully I can help everybody else understand it better too. Now, Gamba, if you have a rebuttal that you can share with us where we can all learn, I'll be happy to.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a rebuttal. I have a question that I want to pose to you. So what are you using this birth certificate for? What are your objectives? What are you talking about?
Well, I'll discuss that with you on a different call.
Right, because the birth certificate is not. The birth certificate is it's just a stop. I mean, so you're gonna continuously order birth certificates and send these off as paper. The presentments that they present to you can be used as the date. Those are the checks.
I understand.
I don't understand what form that you're trying to use these birth certificates as. Again, it all goes under trust. If in the event they're able to present you with the evidence that's needed for them to receive payment, then you endorse the check that they're sending you. Because, mind you, have you ever looked at your bank account? I'm assuming you have one, right?
Yeah.
Anything that's in the black is what?
Negative.
Oh, it's a positive in the black. When they send you something and you look at your bank account and it's in the red, it'll have negative.
I'm sorry, I just never had that, so I apologize.
Oh, look at your bank account, and they'll say it'll clearly state everything that's negative is in red. Negative $300. Okay, that's a negative. You owe that, right?
Okay.
Okay, well, when they send you a bill, have you ever seen one in red?
No.
So what are they waiting for?
You to give it energy.
What? For you to do what?
For you to
endorse the instrument as trustee without recourse, accepted by the trust, release it, charge it to the account of the grantor, which gave you the authority to do business, and it's over with. File your K-1 schedule, file your 1099 miscellaneous funds, and you're done with it. Case over.
Thank you, sir.
And don't do it on the front, do it on the back. Because you'll be facing the instrument once you do it on the front.
So you're not putting nothing on the front?
Well, you're defacing the instrument. It's a negotiable instrument. I'm accepting it as a negotiable instrument. I don't know how you guys are accepting it, but it definitely is a negotiable instrument when I receive it.
Sure.
So no, I'm not sure the defacing the instrument.
So you okay, that's cool. And that's why they call it like a remittance. A lot of them will say remittance on it. And I've heard the definition.
It's on the back. I'm going to endorse it on the back. Have you ever noticed what judges do when they receive presentments from us? What do? They look at the front, and then what do? Immediately.
Flip it over.
They turn it over and look at the back.
And then first thing they punch is accepted.
Right, and they're looking for this stuff, and they say, oh, okay, we got another one doesn't know that he's a trustee, okay. Now we're going to act as trustee, and we're going to, since he's in breach of his fiduciary responsibility because he doesn't understand, we're going to charge his ass.
Man, oh man.
Okay, guys, I'm going to go.
Thanks, Christian.
Thanks, Christian.
I think the birth certificate is also an invoice, right?
It's nothing more than it's nothing more than a stock showing that you have an ownership in this corporation, in your state. That's my opinion. It's just a stock. It's a stock certificate.
I like the way you speak, Gamba. You express things from your opinion, and I like the scientific approach. I mean, I agree with you. Everything I try to say to people, I think goes without saying. It's my opinion, and keeps my mind open, you know, because people start repeating something over and over and over. Next thing you know, it's like it's written in stone or something, and it seems to prevent them from keeping loose and on their toes and you know, keeping their mind open to new things like what you're suggesting, for example. So, and it seems to have a ring of it certainly perked a lot of people's ears here. So I hope we get a chance to go over this some more, and I'm going to try and follow up with you. Do you have email contact or Skype contact on your website, or just start with the phone call?
Yeah, you can just call us on, and then, like I said, if we can create some type of dialogue, I'll go ahead and we can exchange Skype information and go from there.
Cool. Right on.
But that is the phone number that you can reach me at. You know, sometimes I answer the phone, sometimes I don't. It's not because I don't want to. It's just I get a lot of calls every day.
Well, no, I got you. I'll keep that in mind when I'm trying to contact you.
But definitely, I like talking on Skype, even though I think it's government regulated. But you know, as long as we're doing business the right way, it doesn't matter.
Sure. I mean, and it's pretty autonomous. You know, at any one time, there's 13 to 20. I'm looking at it right now. There's 13 million people on, you know, or 20 million, and I don't think they have the technology to monitor all those calls.
Oh, they do. They definitely have it if they want to.
Well, yeah, even if they have the computers that could do the voice recognition and break down keywords, you still need a human mind to go over that. And come on, guys, just do the math. You know, it's just like look at IRS.
Yeah, but they could do it. I mean, I don't think that they are. I mean, but Skype is definitely government regulated.
Sure it is, but it's look at even the IRS. They can only do things by using certain measures and seeing if they can pull statistically anomalous things, and even then they only take a subsample and check it out. I mean, there's limits. There's just, if you think of all the 20 million people talking at the same time, okay, think of how many hours of conversation. Where are you going to find? You know, you might even get machines to be able to like go through it. It's not what, I just don't think it's what people think it is.
Thanks, Gamba, for the info. It was a nice insight.
Absolutely, yeah. Amen to that.
I appreciate it. And you guys shared some insight with me. I learned a lot just being on the call. You know, because I don't know everything. None of us do. We're all struggling and trying to figure out this whole puzzle, because it is a puzzle.
It takes many minds.
Yeah, the judges are hoping we'll never figure it out.
Oh no, they have problems nowadays.
Yeah, they sure do.
Yeah, they have very, very serious problems, and the people are not waking up, and it's not as simple as it used to be. These judges are now to the point to where they're even saying, okay, they're looking at these attorneys and saying, okay, you better present some evidence to me because I don't want to deal with this guy here.
I have heard a judge say that. I heard him say, are you presenting any evidence today? I've heard them say that, exactly.
Yeah. They're just nonsense. And these people are bringing in claims under fictitious names that don't even exist. Fictitious payees that don't even exist. These attorneys are, and this is my opinion again. It could be, I may be incorrect, but I believe this. I've had conversations with some of my associates. I don't believe that half of the banks even know that they're being, that the suits are being brought in under their name. But I believe that they are ready and willing recipients of the kickbacks that the attorneys can get. If you understand what I'm saying.
That's scary, man.
It's not the banks. It's the attorneys that's bringing the claims in, and if in fact they can take your house and whatever else they're doing behind the scenes, then the banks can get kickbacks. But half of the banks do not even know that these claims are being brought in their name.
That's scary.
Terrible, yeah.
That these attorneys are just that hungry for blood, and they're willing to just do all these fraudulent things in the process.
So when you go on the trust, you let them know that. Okay, well, where's the plaintiff? I haven't seen him yet. Can you please produce the plaintiff? I have a right to question him. And you stated for the record, Your Honor, I believe that this man right here is not the creditor. He is representing a plaintiff that he said he has the authority to represent. But I have not seen anything that delegated him the authority to represent him. Can he produce that evidence today? Because I believe that this is a fictitious plaintiff as well as a fictitious payee, and there's no evidence to the contrary. Now, make him produce evidence to show that he has a delegated authority to represent this alleged plaintiff known as Wells Fargo.
And he's not bringing a false claim in this court.
Right.
Nice application.
He's in contempt of court. He's in contempt of court if he does anything otherwise, and you have to make sure that you enforce this.
That's a nice application.
But so many people just fall on it. So many.
Well, that's a nice application of that principle, though, the way you laid that out. That's the part they gotta. I mean, people could do well to memorize just what you just said there.
Doesn't an attorney have power of attorney?
Repeat that?
Doesn't an attorney have to have power of attorney to represent someone?
If he asks,
they have to have a contract. I mean, you're saying you represent Wells Fargo, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there should be a contract somewhere between that particular attorney and Wells Fargo saying that Wells Fargo acquired his services in order to bring a claim in the name of Wells Fargo and sue this particular party. Failure, if you don't have that, what are you doing here?
Yeah, well, how can a corporation give a power of attorney to an attorney?
Through an agent? So even through an agent it won't count?
The agent better come in there and you can subpoena him. That agent better come in there and say, I gave power of attorney, or, well, not the agent, but the one who is in control of that corporation, the president.
Somebody.
No, the president. The president of that corporation has to hire that attorney.
Well, I agree with you, but it better be some live man willing to sit in that witness seat.
Exactly.
Right, but you can't even be any designated agent other than the CEO?
No, because he has no authority. Now you question him. Now, who are you?
Right.
What is your position with the corporation?
Okay.
You have delegated authority to make decisions, whereas you can hire an attorney? Who are you? Show me your paperwork. What is your position in this corporation? Last I checked, the only one that can make these type of decisions is the president.
See, that's why the United States. That was the question that I asked the United States when they prosecuted me. Where's their power of attorney?
And they don't have it.
Yeah, but they still prosecuted me.
You let them prosecute.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing.
Right. If you don't constantly do what is it called, rebellious? There's a term for it. But if you not constantly do it, they're constantly recontracting. So you say don't, and then they say do, and then you say don't, they say do, and you didn't go back and say don't, so they just went ahead. There was the agreement right there. They got the technical acquiescence on you. It's a big load of BS, I know.
That's what occurred with the Freemans, and then also.
The Freeman. Yeah.
What Gamba is saying is basically they go online, see what houses are going up for sale or some type of problems, and then they run in and say that we're representing the bank or the mortgage company.
So that's a great application principles, because you're saying basically once you focus in on that issue, they're going to run away from it, and that's a stopper right there. You're saying essentially if you effectively hold them to it.
Yeah, it could be a simple letter done through a notary, whereas you send the attorney a letter, basically stating, hey, listen, you don't want to go this route. I know that you're not representing these people. And you can draft it how you want to draft it, serve it on him, give notice, maybe CC it to a couple of regulatory agencies that represent these attorneys, the ABA and all, and, you know, put him on notice. Send it to the Treasury, you know, the whole 9 yards. Listen, I'm putting you on notice right now that if you continue with these actions, this is what's going to happen. And not only if I send it to you, I'll send it to all of the people who are watchdogs over you. So if you're bringing in a claim as a fictitious plaintiff, it's not going to be good for you. I have no problem with bringing a commercial lien against you and monetizing that to the fullest extent. And that's a whole other conversation. Well, you know, it's just in certain ways. I mean, we all have knowledge. Everybody that seems to be on this call and it seems like they have the knowledge to do this stuff. Everybody knows how to operate as a trustee.
Been doing it all along.
Right. I agree with Christian as far as some of the things he said, but no, we don't give these people our position. We're the trustees.
I think it's good that you come in. I think Christian needs a little bit of a wider, you know, good people like yourself because I'm just new to this. I'm good at asking some basic questions, but I think, you know, fresh insight, because I think he's, you know, he's struggling to get up and get this audience. It's very hard to bring this message to the people, right? But like everybody, you know, he's saying essentially you're saying the same thing, but what's really cool is just by you expressing it from your own experience, it brings another dimension of understanding. So I think that's really cool. I hope that you show up on a few more calls in the future.
I'll be on all of the calls. Like I said, I've been trying to get in touch with Christian. Brother Eric, he was grateful enough to give me the number, and I'll be on there. And because again, we're all trustees, and this is the concept that me and my associates we've known all along is through trust. Now you have certain positions that you could, again, in my opinion, never do grant for a trustee. Never.
Too much of a leading towards the direction of commingling. Is that why?
Well, no, it's alter ego, and any attorney fresh out of law school could easily breach your trust and make it look like you're trying to hide something.
At some point, maybe, guys, we can, again, I know there's a group here that likes to just focus entirely on the real estate thing, and I can appreciate that. It's very insightful, and again, my thing is I'm not very specialized in all the real estate terminology, but I sure understand what it means to get a statement with a remittance voucher on the end of it, and I'm sure there might be a wider audience for that. And I also think it'd be a good model to see an application of the theory. Like, I'm a really big believer in learning theory and then trying some application as an exercise of the theory. Just still not doing it, just practicing it in your mind, and then going back to the theory and then going back to the application. And maybe we can now go back to this model that Christian has, and basically you can put a couple tweaks into it. And, well, it sounds like you have a working model, so I'd be very interested to see how these two things, to see what the adjustments and so on. I'm really anticipating getting a hold of you, Gamba, and listening to what you have to say on this.
I'll be available, trust me, because, I've been trying to get Christian. Christian, to me, is a great man. And he knows, put it this way, I'm not in the same category with him as far as knowing all of the rules and regulations and policies that are applied to trust. I'm nowhere in the same ballpark because I basically don't study that. I don't study it. When you talk about trust, in my opinion, it's a simple concept. Understanding the 5 elements of the trust, and then knowing how to utilize that and make it work for yourself. I don't study the statutes behind it. I don't care about the statutes behind it. It means nothing to me. But at the same time, it needs to be applied, and that's where Christian comes in.
Yeah, well, Christian has the theory, and I agree with you. I think he's not getting enough support, and he's almost like he's getting isolated, or with the shifting of the sites and the site being down, and the desert was kind of choking him up a bit, and I don't think it's almost like he's not getting his message out. So I just think, like I said, we need more people like you, basically. You sound like you've done some real hard crunching of study and application, and I'm just blown away. So I'm right with you. So yeah, and Christian, it's his whole thought process that's moving this thing forward. I mean, I've never heard anybody in the last. I've only jumped on this wagon 2.5 years, so I mean I'm a newbie by definition, but I've never heard. I've heard people reference it and they talk around it, and so he's the first guy.
Never the way he's come. There's only one other guy who I put it in the same category as Christian, and I'll say myself, and his name is Carlton Life. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him.
No, he's got the PDF book out, doesn't he?
Yeah,
the handbook of
very, very intelligent when it comes to trust.
So I got his book. I haven't read that yet, though. That's a good read, then, is it?
Oh, no question. Carlton Rice is he's very good. I've talked to him, we have conversations, and yeah, he knows trust. There's no question about it.
Gamba, what do you think we could do to get him involved in these calls?
That's a hard thing to do. He's not a readily available man, and he charges a lot, and he's all over the world and here and there. So it ain't that easy to catch up with him.
Okay. We got to keep our support with Christian and get him back on to a main website somehow, and get more people like Gamba in here and open it up a little bit more.
Shane, there's not a lot of people like Gamba and Christian Walters, so we have to just allow them to do what they got to do when they can.
I'll try to get this guy, and get in touch with him, because it'll be a good conversation between, ourselves. And I mean, he'll probably take over because he's very sharp.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. Christian is a humble enough guy to let him do that.
Yeah, and I am too. I mean, like I said, it's an art in listening, and I have no problem with listening, because there's so much I don't know about trust, even though I know a lot about it. There's so much that I don't know. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, for me to sit here and say that I'm an expert, no way.
Hey, you know what? You got practical application, and that's a big deal, man.
Right.
It's a big deal. And it's a pleasure to have you and for you to bring your practical application in. Gamba, I need to get to sleep. It's 1:45 here on the East Coast, and I want to shut the computer down. So if you want to dial back in, do you want to? Maybe you can keep talking to me.
Well, look, it's 1:45 here. I need to go to sleep myself. I'm going to shut it down. Hopefully I can get in contact with you guys next week. When do you have? Every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday at 10.
And that's the same number that you sent me today?
Right, absolutely. It's just a matter of whether or not you can get the *6 to work for you.
You got the Wednesday call, Gamba?
I'll be on all of them. I mean, this is the same number.
Well,
no,
Wednesday's
a different number. Sorry.
What it is, Wednesday is a moderated call, and Matt does a good job of moderation, but it's not open conversation like this. It's question and it's answer. Well, first, I don't know, have you been on the Wednesday call, Shane?
Yeah, I'll
Is he still doing Gilbert Shane on Talk Show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he does. I mean, like you said, it's a moderated call, but it's just good to have the number if you want. It's
Gamba, what I think the best bet is, I'll give it to him. I'll Skype it to him. But Gamba, I think the best bet is Tuesday and Saturday as far as for open conversation. It's the same number on Tuesday and Saturday.
Well, what about Monday, Eric?
Well, let's find out if Christian wants to invite him to that call before we just give it to him. That's Christian's call. I can't make that call.
So, anyways, the Saturday call, Gamba, is on 9 o'clock. Christian
Same number,
has-
same pen.
Yeah, he's got the same number. And then the Wednesday, if you want to check in, is on Talks. You just search Neo Morpheus.
But I'll give you the number right now if you want it.
No, I haven't. I've been listening in. I went through a lot of his audios and I know how to get in there. I just hadn't had the pin. I didn't have the pin number.
All right. Hey, Gamba, if you want to make a list of anything that you've heard from any of the recordings in the past, as far as any examples of any documents or anything like that, I may have them already.
Okay.
So if you just ask me, I'll share them with you.
Not a problem. Not a problem. And I'll do the same.
Right. But I mean, if you've been listening, you say, man, I need that. Call me up and say, you have that. Like, for example, if you want a UCC1 on how to claim. An example, for example, I have that as for example of some of the documents that I've created over the course of time of listening.
Okay, not a problem. Not a problem.
And if anybody else has anything they've created over the course of time that they want to share with them, please speak up.
I'd like to get a UCC1 from you.
That'll be fine. Who's this?
Floyd.
Floyd, go ahead and send me a message on Skype and ask me for that, and I'll send that example to you, Floyd.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right.
Yeah, I would like to, Eric. I'll send that to you if you don't mind too. Thanks.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Just request it on Skype.
Right on, brother. Thank you, by the way, Eric, for all the documents that you sent me. I mean, you really gave me a nice library, and that's going to be a lot to get through, but when I do, so I
think I may have shared that UCC1 with you already, Shane.
I'll go through it then. Yeah, I think there is something there. Yeah.
If anybody else needs anything, just speak up now.
Yeah, I'd like a copy of that UCC1 also.
Who's speaking?
John, Indiana.
John, my Skype ID is Imagine the One. It's the numerical number 1.
Okay.
If you'll send me a message on Skype and add me your contact so you can receive the document, because I have to be in your contact list, and I'll share that with you. And,
well, gentlemen, I guess we're wrapping up.
All right. Well, one thing I want to say about the UCC1s and the filings, so everybody knows. When you go to do them online, okay, if you don't have the appropriate drop-down menus when you go to do them online, and by the way, we should all be doing all our UCC1s online filings in the state of Washington because it is the destination of international filing, the state of Washington. Okay? And if you and I haven't looked at that, I need to look at that here in the next few days as far as creating that record online. But if anybody goes to do it and they don't have the appropriate drop-down, then you need to do a nomenclature change in Block 4, and you need to make the statement of that. Okay? And I have the language. It's and I'll put that on the UCC1 example that I've created. I'll add that to that. It might not be in the ones you guys get here in the near future, but I need to go back and listen to a recent recording and add that change for Block 4, for collateral Block 4 of the UCC1, in case you can't designate it through some of the other nomenclature changes on the UCC1.
Well, what about in Block 8, where we do the nomenclature change, where it's trusted grantor?
You're kind of asking an open-ended question. I don't know how to answer that.
Okay, well, what I was told to do was where it says optional filer reference data, you make a little square with an X in it, and you put trustee/grantor nomenclature change.
I'm not going to, let me stop you there, okay? If you're doing that on a hard copy, absolutely, but if you're doing an online filing, what are you going to do, draw on your computer screen?
Well, that was going to be my question.
Right, you're going to go ahead and designate the nomenclature change in collateral Block 4 is what I'm telling you. Okay, and there's some specific language that Christian gave me recently, and I need to go ahead and add that into the collateral Block 4 of the UCC1 for those of us. You see what I'm getting at, right?
Okay. Sounds good.
Take notice. This is all terms are trust, or trustee, or hereby comported to trustee grant or grantor grantee or trustee grantor. You know what I'm saying? And like put that as a leading statement in collateral block 4, something to that effect. I got to go back and listen, but I know something close to that.
Okay. Well, that answers my question anyway, Eric. Thanks.
Yeah, I had a question about that for a while too, so I'll be happy to pass it along.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I was going to let you get to bed. You sound tired.
I am. It's been a long, busy day, and I have another one tomorrow. All right, guys. Pleasure talking to you.
Good night.
All right, talk to you later.
Yeah, good night.